go. And I'm hitting it now. Boom. All right. I believe we are live. What is going on, everybody? This is Randall Thor 19, the man with the million, back again with your weekly episode of the Xbox 2 podcast with the one and only Jez Corden of Windows Central. What is going on, buddy?
All good, man. God, it's been a busy week. Microsoft did not let up on I had a really big writing project to do this week. So I was like, okay, I'm going to set everything aside and just focus entirely on this one project. And then Microsoft just kept dropping bombs. And it's like, oh, okay. I have to stop doing this and stop doing this. So yeah, it's been a very exhausting week. And I am very grateful that it's the weekend now. I'm rounding off nicely with my buddy Rand. He's doing a bit of podcasting.
But hey, are you sure Microsoft just won't drop news on Saturday and Sunday and you're going to continue to have to write up articles on Windows Central, though?
Historically, they haven't really dropped news on the weekend. So I'm hoping that Microsoft will leave me alone for a couple of days and leave our news team alone for a couple of days. They've been playing a blinder as well. So playing a blinder means they've been doing a good job, by the way, for those who aren't British. So you don't say that in America, right? Playing a blinder.
No, I've never heard of that term ever before. Let's see if anybody in chat has heard this, like Pong Soul or Gunstar or Deck or any of the already like a whole bunch of people. Like I think we're already over at like 500 or whatever, just starting now. But anybody know exactly what that phrase Jez is talking about? Because I've honestly have never heard of it before.
Playing a blinder, man. Yeah,
I don't actually know. Playing a blinder. What does that even mean?
I don't know. I think it means like you play so well that your mind blows or something. I don't know what it means. But you say that at sports events and stuff, like, oh man, that player played a blinder to get this match or whatever.
See, everybody from the UK. Everybody in the UK seems to know it, but I've never heard of it before in my entire life. This is very. You should start a podcast where you just talk about, phrases that you know from the British that we Americans have no idea about. So you turn to blinder, okay?
Yeah, and I'm just getting ready to chill and podcasting with you, playing a bit of Overwatch and.
Overwatch with that 120 frames, right?
Yeah, 120 frames. Although I don't have 120 frames right now because my capture card's plugged in. That's another annoying thing. I need a pass-through device that does 120 hertz, but I haven't found one yet. They all bottleneck at 60. But man, that's a first world problem and a half, isn't it?
Yeah.
It was nice to discover that my TV does 120 at 1440p though. I bet there's a lot of people out there who just don't know that their TV can do 120
It's almost like
hertz.
Maybe you should write an artitle for Windows Central about it.
Yeah, probably, but not in
like
the next couple
best
of days,
TVs to get or something like that,
I think we have one of those most likely.
Yeah.
But
shout out to Hustle and Motivate for becoming the newest member of the channel. Thank you for all the support, buddy, and enjoy your emotes. As well as we got our second member of the channel, Zenner White. Thank you for joining as well. Enjoy the emotes. I appreciate all the support. But we got our first salty super chat, Jez, from and surprisingly, you can tell where this would go from the name of the person, the PlayStation Lord, right? So you can imagine, the the quality of the super chat. He says, Halo Starfield isn't 2021. Haha, eggs on both your faces. What a quality super chat. Thank you for the money, though. I appreciate it. me and Jez appreciate it. Yeah. I think some of the PlayStation fans are a little bit they're running with Jason Schreier's tweet from earlier today.
What was that?
Gotham Knights got delayed, and someone responded to him with like, at least Halo and Starfield are coming out this year, and Jason Schreier said, I don't know about that. So now everybody's like, oh, Halo and Starfield aren't coming out this year. Like
I mean, who knows, man?
I don't know. I feel pretty confident Halo will come out at least. As for Starfield, we'll talk about that a little bit later. Sin Vendetta says, shout out to Jez for beating Jeff Grubb at being the biggest stud. Jez leading the poll at 53%. You in a poll?
Nice.
You're in a poll versus Jeff Grubb?
Yeah, so someone put a poll up. Who's the biggest Jez or Jeff? And it's pretty even split right now. It's a pretty even match.
You're lucky if it was just the biggest stud, because if it was who had the best hair, Jeff would win that by like a landslide number of votes.
Yeah, that is true.
That is very true. So how's your week been? Other than like constantly just writing up articles on the Windows Central about everything that Microsoft is doing multiple times every single day this week. Was your week pretty good though?
Yeah, mostly. It's all good. I'm just just looking forward to the weekend now.
So you get to play some video games while we talk about video games, right?
Yeah.
How'd you feel about being someone writing an article about you because of a smiley face? Did that make your has that ever happened before? Like I know people write articles about you a lot, right? Like there are people that listen to the show whenever you say something that sounds pretty interesting. Maybe you drop like a huge leak or something. There always end up being articles that come out and says Jez Corden's Xbox 2 podcast with no mention of me, no mention of Rand. And
Randall Chop Liver.
Randall Chop Liver, indeed. I find it hilarious, right? Because people think of like you and Jeff Grubb and a couple other people as like quote unquote insiders, right? So you can never like tweet something or say something in public because people might think it's a hint about something that's coming later. And I love the fact that somebody literally took the time to write a, 5 paragraphs about your reply to the one and only Hasdor. I thought that was hilarious, and we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about the whole Persona tweet and what you meant about it. And then you even went, because I know this was you, like the Windows Central Gaming Twitter account. You posted a picture of Persona 4 and Persona 3 on the PS2 on top of the Series X and said, "Look, here's a picture of Persona on Xbox." I knew that was you. Like I didn't even have to think twice. I was like, "Oh, could it have been Miles? Could it have been somebody else?" No, it was Jez Corden.
Just having a bit of fun,
just feeling the rumors, yeah. Shout out to Mun840 for also becoming the newest member of the channel. Appreciate all the support, man. Enjoy the emotes, the Filmic one. We got Halo Craig. We got Randall Tomato. And Jezicado. We got a whole bunch of ones here. Appreciate anybody that hits the join button or supports the show with super chats or just being here is more than enough, though. Because we appreciate everybody who takes the time out of day to watch the podcast, whether it's for 15 minutes or whether it's for the entire thing. So thank you guys. Kristen Borick says, do you guys think Rockstar would allow Microsoft to FPS boost Red Dead Redemption 2? I doubt it, but it would be a dream come true. Love the show. Now, interesting, I'll answer that question because our buddy Colt Eastwood, right? I talk to Colt every single day. Jez, you're a big fan of, and friend of Colt's too, right?
Yeah, Colt's a dude.
Yeah, Colt. Okay, Colt. Yeah, I never heard Colt's a dude. Well, yes, he is.
Okay. Colt is a top bloke.
He's a top bloke. Okay, I get that. So, when the FPS boost was announced, he was able to interview Jason Ronald of Xbox's hardware team. The program manager, and he basically asked Jason like, "Hey, do you have to get permission from developers, publishers, if you want an FPS boost?" And basically Jason said, yeah, some of these developers or publishers might have plans for their franchises in the future. Now, specifically how that pertains to Rockstar and Red Dead Redemption 2, I wouldn't be surprised if Rockstar maybe had a plan of potentially, selling you a remaster on next gen with 60 frames instead of an FPS boost for free. Yeah, right.
Take-Two reselling your game again? Mm-hmm. No way. They would never do that.
They would never do that.
They would never do that.
I mean, they've only done it with Grand Theft Auto 5. It's amazing they did it with Grand Theft Auto 5 in the 360 and then sold it to you again on the Xbox One and then going to sell it to you again on the Xbox Series X and PS5. It's kind of crazy.
I'm surprised they didn't do Skyrim.
Yeah.
Again. Next gen Skyrim.
Next gen. They probably, maybe they will. Maybe they will.
They've done the FPS boost, haven't they?
They
for
did, but
Skyrim?
apparently the PC ports of Evil Within and Nier Automata are like new ports, better than the
Oh.
Steam versions. I don't know if you've seen that. Like Evil
Yeah, I
Within
did
on
see
the PC has features that aren't in the console version or the PC version. Like it's a brand new port.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
So maybe they'll do stuff like that. Humdrung Dog says, Jezran, please tell me Halo is this year, please. I mean, I believe it's this year. If it's not this year and it gets delayed to 2022, then then people need to lose their jobs over at 343. Honestly, like I know that's kind of a little bit mean, but something must have seriously gone wrong if you delay the game a year and then have to delay the game yet again, right? So I feel pretty confident that at least Halo Infinite will be launching this year. I know, Jez, do you feel the same?
I don't have any Halo sourcing, so I have no idea what the state of the game is right now. But presumably the game was close to being finished last year. If their whole plan was to launch it last year, and then it didn't come out, then it had to be in a like close to finished state, I would have thought. But crazier things have happened, and I think it's more important that the game ships in a state that is befitting of the franchise and expectations. So even if it does get delayed, after Cyberpunk, I'm kind of inclined to think, well, maybe that's a good thing. It's complicated because some big studios were impacted way harder than others with COVID and stuff. Some studios just had to really mix up their pipeline, and they weren't built for remote work and stuff like that. So I think 343 might have been among the studios that perhaps weren't geared well enough to handle remote working. Could be wrong. It's just speculation. But, either way, I think it's better that the game ships in a playable state. So we'll just have to wait and see.
T.Tucker says, what Fallout should I play in Game Pass having never before? What should you start with? Like, which ones are on Game Pass? I think it's just 4 and New Vegas, right? Is 3 on there?
Well, it's 76.
Oh yeah, Fallout 76 is on there.
I
mean,
personally, well, you can say first if you want.
Okay, I've never played New Vegas, and actually I've never played 4. I'm not the biggest Fallout fan. I'll say that right out of the gate. I'm much more of an Elder Scrolls fan. Like, I played all the Elder Scrolls. I am not... I mean, I beat Fallout 4. Like, I got all the achievements and did all the DLC, but I didn't play New Vegas. I haven't played Fallout 4 yet. I'm thinking about... Actually, I own Fallout 4. I'm thinking about going back and playing it. So I'm not the best person to ask on this. Jez, do you have or you can even ask the chat, chat, which Fallout would you start with if, you're someone in Game Pass who's never played a Fallout game? Which one would you recommend, Jez?
Personally, I love New Vegas at the time, even though it was a buggy hellscape. But I don't even feel like Skyrim and Fallout 4 have aged that well. So I can't imagine going all the way back to Fallout 3 and New Vegas, which were built on the Oblivion engine. Even though Fallout New Vegas does give you the most freedom in the 3D franchises anyway, by your decisions actually mattering. It's the one that feels most like an RPG, other than the 2 original ones. So if you're willing to adjust, and at least it has been resolution boosted for the Xbox One X and stuff, you can go back and play Fallout 3 in New Vegas. They have good stories and big maps, and the decisions are fun and interesting. But I think Fallout 4 probably holds up more as a shooter. They completely redid the shooting system. The guns are fun to use. And stuff like that.
You could also say, hey, check out Outer Worlds.
Yeah,
since that's kind of like Fallout-ish.
Yeah, Outer Worlds is good. It's good-ish. I don't think Outer Worlds sort of reaches to Fallout's level yet.
Well, I'm not saying it reaches to Fallout. I'm just saying, it's at least more of a, visually looks better. It got the FPS boost to 60, so it runs well. I'm actually gonna play it. We're gonna talk about that in games played here in just a minute. But Sin Vendetta says, haha, I need Jez to sing I'm a dude, he's a dude, she's a dude, we're all dudes. Hey. So you got to request to sing, Jez.
I don't know that song, so
He doesn't know that song, unfortunately. God,
I apologize.
Yeah.
What is that? Is that from a movie?
I believe so. Yes. Cameron Mitchell says, "Keep it up, dude." Thank you. We definitely will keep it up. Videos, podcasts, all that stuff. We'll definitely keep it up. Athiel S says, "Great show as always. I have 2 questions. Do you think Game Pass will incentivize more microtransactions to turn a profit? And do you think there'll be higher tier of Game Pass that gives you all expansion packs like you play on PC?" So like, are you saying? So the answer to the second question, a higher tier of Game Pass. So you're saying like a third tier? Because you already have one where you can subscribe individually to Game Pass, console or PC, $10 each. You have the Ultimate tier, which is $15, which gives you Xbox Live Gold and console and streaming and PC. So you're saying there's a one above Ultimate for what? Let's say $20. That would essentially give you any DLC for the games that come out in it. I don't know. Usually, if you kind of turn something Ultimate, it's like the. I always kind of look at it like, okay, Ultimate is like the top tier. Like, what is beyond Ultimate, right? Jez, can you kind of? Because I think Ultimate's the highest tier. I can't see there being 3. Maybe they add like a family plan, which would be more expensive or something. But like, I can't imagine there being a tier above Ultimate.
I think like I'm actually planning to write about this next week if things go to plan. But I do think like there won't not a tier above, but I was thinking of a tier below, like a Game Pass Go or something that's cheaper, includes just Microsoft first party games, and also includes XCloud. Because I think like one of the issues with getting Xbox Game Pass on PlayStation or Nintendo Switch is that, you know, you'll basically be stopping people from buying those games on those other storefronts. But I think maybe Nintendo would go for it, or PlayStation maybe would go for it if it was only the games that Microsoft wasn't going to bring to the platform any other way. I mean, it's still a stretch. I still don't think PlayStation would like the idea of people using an Xbox service instead of playing a game from their store, for example. But I do think it's potentially one way Microsoft can get around issues with iOS and also the Google Play Store, and also have a tier just for XCloud. Because right now, if you want XCloud, you have to go all the way to Ultimate, which is a bit weird. I don't think that's the plan long term. Because if someone only has a tablet in like you know, they only have a tablet, why would they want to pay for the PC Game Pass and the Xbox the console Game Pass at the same time? So I do think there is room for more Game Pass tiers in the future, but I'm going to explore that a bit more next week.
I think there's room for like a family plan, which is essentially be more than Ultimate, right? Because you're paying for multiple. I think, well, because I think the reason this comes up, right, is because, okay, when Gears 5 came out, or when Gears Hive Busters came out, which is on the screen right now, it looks amazing, right? That was offered within Ultimate. If you owned Ultimate, you just got it for free. And we speculated that, hey, this would be a good way to incentivize people to increase their subscription from regular console Game Pass to Ultimate, because a lot of games will get expansions and stuff like that. And the discussion reared its head this week because Doom Eternal's second final DLC came out. Granted, like Microsoft just owned them recently, and that DLC has always been planned for a while, but a lot of people were saying, why isn't the Ancient Gods Part 1 and 2 included in Ultimate? And I will say, there is like a, what's the word I'm looking for here? It's not like the consistency, I guess, is what I'm going to talk about here, because like, if you're someone who's like, okay, this Gears DLC is free on Ultimate, but I also have Ultimate, then you start to expect other DLCs to be available. Like, why isn't the Minecraft Dungeons DLC available in Ultimate? Right? Like, there's this like, so if it's kind of one of those things where it needs to be more consistent. Like, either you put all the DLC in the Ultimate tier, or you kind of put none of them, because then it kind of gives people this false impression that perhaps that's how it's gonna go, or like people like check it out and be like, well, I have Ultimate and I got the free DLC for this game here. Why don't I have the free DLC for this other
I
Microsoft
think
first party game? You know what I mean?
yeah, I know what you mean, but I think like because this is still relatively new idea, the whole idea of a subscription service. I think they're still experimenting with the business model. I suppose like one argument could be made like they want to see if having access to Minecraft Dungeons serves as a sort of like a gateway drug to buying the DLC on top, you know. And then obviously that's more money. Like if you're really into Minecraft Dungeons, um, and like you wanna get more levels or whatever, which have like more unique loot or whatever, um, then you you might be more incentivized to buy on top of that. So like Minecraft Dungeons is the perfect like use case, I guess, for testing those kind of models. Um, and also DLC is kind of like it's like an added benefit. It's almost like out of scope, you could argue. It's like does Game Pass also pay for the DLC? Is that factored into the budgets when they're budgeting these games? It's interesting to think about because I completely understand from a consumer's perspective, and my own consumer perspective that it would be nicer to have consistency. I think like Flight Simulator is a good example too, where there's like one of the tiers in Flight Simulator is like $100 or something because of all the licensing on the airports and the plane models and stuff like that. And I don't think that's included in Game Pass, but like
No,
the
it's
base,
not. It's
yeah,
not.
the base tier is though, right?
Well, yeah. Well, that goes to his like other question about like Game Pass and if that will incentivize more games to have monetization and stuff. I don't necessarily think so because like you're still just gonna have the games are still gonna be sold outside of Game Pass, and I don't think that matters too much. The games are just gonna whatever's best for the game. There's gonna be games that don't have any monetization whatsoever. There's gonna be games that do have monetization. So I don't think you'll see like a game that was like no plans on monetization suddenly in Game Pass now having monetization. Um, I think it really just depends on the type of title it is. Got to give a shout out to another new member of the channel. Man, a lot of them today. Really appreciate it. The General C. Thank you for supporting the channel. Enjoy all the emotes, brother. Thank you. It's amazing to see all the support that we get for the show, Jez. Everybody in chat here, the community that we built. It's pretty awesome to see everybody essentially play nice. There's always some people in here that have an agenda and they're not they're a little trolly, and we've learned to ignore them over time. But it's most everybody who comes here is always pretty enthused about hearing me and you speak about Xbox, even though I don't understand why anybody would listen to either of us about stuff. But anyways, thank you for all the support and for tuning into the show. RDX Son of Fett says the how-to vid for EA and Game Pass PC, the Xbox release on YouTube. The lady said iOS and browser support is coming early this year. Yeah, Jez, if you had to take a guess, iOS and browser support for XCloud, when do you think that's coming by? May? June?
Well, I don't think you're getting native iOS support just because of Apple's policies. So, Apple doesn't want to. Apple wants people to buy games from Apple. They don't want Microsoft to take any attention away from their store. So, that sort of screws that whole proposition up. In Apple's mind, they would like devs to port their console games to the Apple Store and sell them natively. So Apple doesn't want xCloud.
No,
because
xCloud is going to be on there though. So
yeah, it's going to be on there from the web.
Yes.
So what Microsoft's going to do to get around it is they're going to say, well, you can play it through the Edge browser. You can play it through the Edge browser using that browser and also the website version. And I believe the plan is for that to come out by the summer. We've seen it get updated all the time. Recently, Microsoft fed an update to the Surface Duo folding phone, which displays the touch controls on the bottom screen, so you can play it like a Nintendo DS, which looks really cool. I can imagine a future where improved haptics could make that feel even better, but it's a really cool step to see them experimenting with that stuff. So xCloud development is always ongoing. and we've seen the streams bumped up to 1080p now, which is nice because they were 720p restricted for a while. So we just have to sort of wait for that. But I don't think you'll ever see it natively on iOS unless Apple and Microsoft can cut some sort of deal on the side. Apple has been known to bend its store policies for some big apps, like your Googles and your Facebooks and stuff out there. So it ultimately becomes a point of like, does XCloud become so much of a selling point that people leave iPhone for a better XCloud device, like an Android phone? I think at that point they might,
Here's a
go,
question
oh,
for
wait a
you,
minute.
right? Because you put out a tweet the other day, you basically had said in your tweet something along the lines of like, it's a little unwieldy to have play games on the phone, and that Xbox should make dedicated handheld hardware. Do you think Microsoft will ever do dedicated Xbox handheld hardware? Like 3, 4, 5 years from now, kind of an XCloud only handheld device for people that don't want to play on their phone?
It's interesting, to think about. Like they have all the engineering, all the software, all the talent in house to be able to do that. Like there's no reason why Microsoft couldn't do that. They have all the tools they need. So it ultimately becomes a case of, do they actually want to do it? So for my money, I think there's an argument to do that. A pretty strong argument because, as you say, playing games designed for large screens with awkward touch controls where you put your thumbs all over the screen, you can't see what you're doing. A lot of those games just aren't designed for small screens where you've got your thumb on the TV. Can you imagine playing a console game and covering up the screen with two huge thumbs and you can't see what you're doing? They're just not designed for that. So I think there's an argument to be made to improve the sort of ergonomic usability of xCloud with a dedicated device. However, they might instead seek to do it through the Surface Duo, because one thing they are doing with the Surface Neo, which is an upcoming foldable tablet that runs Windows 10X, is they have like a magnet on the bottom display which you can stick a keyboard to. I can sort of see a device in the future where instead of sticking a keyboard to the screen with the magnet, you stick like a gamepad to the screen, and or it has like improved haptic feedback where like you can feel where the touch controls are a little bit more easily and stuff like that. But I do think the future of xCloud has to include these extra devices like the Razer Kishi and stuff like that, because it's annoying playing games that aren't designed for it on a phone. And I think Microsoft knows that, but I have no idea if they're working on something like that or even looking at it. I imagine they probably are looking at it because, we've seen they've literally got research patents about controllers that can clip onto screens like the Razer Kishi. So they're probably always thinking about this stuff. But
Yeah,
I personally can see a device that's more dedicated to xCloud
it
from
would
Microsoft.
definitely be interesting if they made a device. And I just got to give a shout out to more members joining the channel. Wow, this is incredible. Jasper Shapp becoming a new member, as well as my man Punkadish, who says that we're the best damn podcast around, Jez. Thank both of you for joining the channel. Enjoy the emotes. Man, you guys put a smile on my face today with all the support. It's amazing. Stickfigure says something interesting in the chat. He thinks the future of xCloud is on TV, like smart TVs and the dedicated apps. I think I would say the future of xCloud. Mobile is obviously the big tipping point, but a lot of people own smart TVs, and it would be very, very a good idea to put xCloud and Game Pass on smart TVs. So I do sort of agree with him. I do agree with. I don't say it's the future of xCloud is on smart TVs, but it's definitely going to be an important piece of it.
Once they bring the stack to HTML or the web or whatever, I suppose it'd be HTML5 or something. I don't know. My web development days are long behind me. But once they bring it to that sort of stack, they can pretty much put it on anything, because like the web is compatible with basically everything, and it has to be, because we have generally globally open web except for a few countries. So once they bring it to that, they can bring it to smart TVs and stuff like that. I mean, they'd have to partner with Samsung and LG to bring the Bluetooth stack for the controller to TVs, but they could also do that through a USB dongle, I guess, and have it controlled that way. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, there's some non-trivial work involved to get that running. It's more than just the video feed, because you have to consider the controllers, you have to consider the drivers for the controller to interact with the stream. So there is work to be done to make that work. But Microsoft's plan is to hit XCloud on every device that exists. I mean, that I really genuinely believe. There are some tech journalists out there who just don't understand that Microsoft's plan is to bring this to every device. They would put this on Switch. They would put this on PlayStation. If PlayStation and Nintendo would accept it, it will be there. You have to think of it like Office. Microsoft Office is on everything. You can get Office on a Chromebook. You can get Office on a iPhone. You can get Office on an Android phone. You can get Office on your Samsung smart fridge. You can get Office on everything, on the web, whatever. You really have to think of Game Pass like the gaming version of Microsoft Office. It's the identical business model, basically. But at the same speed, it's also good for developers because they can, bring their games to a broad audience, get a lot of money from Microsoft, and also upsell on DLC and stuff like that. So it's a win-win-win-win-win for the industry so far, and there could be unforeseen consequences down the line. Who knows? But right now, it seems to be playing out pretty damn well.
Yeah. Let me get through the rest of these super chats. Appreciate all the support, guys. Truly. We got one here from Cinedex who says, Rockstar and Square Enix working on Xbox exclusives. You hear anything, Jez? Smiley face?
Rockstar and who?
Rockstar and Square Enix.
I have no idea about that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything.
He says no. Chaos Might says, Coalition did great with Gears. Excited seeing them helping 343 with Halo Infinite. And Jez, you think Microsoft is going to buy Square Enix or Sega? Here we go with the acquisitions. Square Enix or Sega?
And I have no idea about this. I have no I haven't even heard really rumblings about this. I mean, the community talks about it a lot, but none of my sources have ever really talked about acquisitions in that vein. But at the same time, these knowledge on acquisitions is at such a high level that getting info on them is almost impossible until after it's basically happened. I literally found out about Bethesda in the middle of the night, the day it had happened. So, because, marketing had to be involved, and I guess more people found out about it, partners found out about it, Bloomberg knew about it. So then you got outlets already know about it, and things just start leaking once more people know about it. Also, documents get uploaded to places that maybe are less secure than Microsoft think they are, stuff like that. So, I have no idea. I haven't heard anything about acquisitions lately, so it's another one of those. Wait and see.
Damn, that wasn't clickbait enough where someone could write an article about it. Damn it.
Yeah.
John G says, the song from All That Good Burger. Have you all played the Outrider demo? If you did, what do you think? I was just going to buy the game, so I wasn't going to play the demo. So I haven't played it. Did you play the Outrider demo, Jez?
I tried, but the servers were so bad that I couldn't connect. And also, my brother, I was going to play it with my brother, but he needed a Square Enix account, which is a load of bullshit, by the way. Forcing you to make a Square Enix account for a game that is supposedly isn't a service, according to them. So that was a load of bullshit, and the servers were down for that, so we couldn't connect and we couldn't make an account. So I ended up sort of messing around with the tutorial, and then the servers kicked me off, and I was like, screw this. So I haven't touched it since then. But I have downloaded the demo again because I want to give it another try, hopefully this weekend. But it looks interesting. Critical reception seems mixed on it. I kind of get the feeling that people are just so desperate for something to play, something new and fresh, that they're sort of giving this a pass, maybe. It doesn't look that interesting.
Well, we're definitely going to be talking about Outriders when we talk about Xbox's Game Pass announcements this week. Ben Kenobi 2020 says, all first-party DLC should be included at least in Game Pass Ultimate. I mean, I would like that. I think a lot of people would, and it would be a good way to incentivize people to make that extra jump from, $10 console Game Pass to $15 Ultimate. It definitely would help. Sin Vendetta says, sorry, the We're All Dudes song was sung by Kel on the show All That on Nickelodeon back in the mid-90s. Definitely more of a show that was popular in the U.S.
Oh, is that Keenan and Kel?
I think so. I'm not sure. I have heard the song, but yeah, All That does sound vaguely familiar on Nickelodeon. So
Keenan and Kel was popular in the UK. Like I'm aware of who Keenan and Kel are, but
right.
that particular show I don't know.
Creative Vibe says, appreciate you guys. Best Xbox podcast. Thank you. That is high praise considering how many amazing and awesome Xbox podcasts are out there. We got RDX with Dealer and Colt Eastwood. You got XCast with Snowbike Mike and Paris Lily. You got the Iron Lords podcast with Cognito and King David and Addict and Sovereign. You go, Mr. Boomstick puts on a bunch of shows, 4 shows a week. He's very good at what he does. And the myriad of other shows that I'm forgetting about. There are too many to mention. Like, there are a lot of podcasts in the community, and all of them offer something unique. So it's, for someone to think that we're the best, I appreciate that. I don't think we're the best. I think we're just, one in the cog of many. But it always makes me and Jez, smile to see people, say that this is the one that they like the most. So we appreciate that. Xberk says, Rand, I purchased the CX. The decision was directly related to your tweet the day it arrived for you. My Series X and I thank you. Beyond amazing. Awesome. I'm so happy for you to get the Series X or the CX. Honestly, it's one of the best purchases I ever made. If you play a lot of games, you need to get the CX. I have a 65-inch. It was worth every single penny. And one of the underrated features of that system, and I know Jez really wants this, is VRR, variable refresh rate. I know a lot of people always look at Digital Foundry, to see the frame rates of the new games. I never have to worry about any of that because VRR clears it completely up. I never see screen tearing. I never see frame drops because VRR is just that technology that, essentially stops it. So I got this big 65-inch TV that displays games in the best possible way. HDR looks phenomenal. VRR stops all the screen tearing, and it's like it's a must-have if you guys want your games to look the best and perform the best. I think there's a new model coming out every single year, so but there'll be sales on this. I know Jez wants a CX. He just can't fit it where he is right now.
Yeah, I do like my Samsung TV, considering how much I paid for it, which wasn't very much. I think it was I don't know, $700 ish. The CX is about 1,000, right?
More than that, but yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, I didn't pay that much for this TV because I wasn't sure how long I was going to be here. I was planning to just visit home and go back to Germany, but then the endless lockdown happened, so couldn't travel anymore. So I didn't want to spend too much on a TV. So I ultimately just bought sort of cheapish one, but I don't know. I guess
yeah,
it's fine for having paid for it.
Jonah Falcon says Persona 4 Golden was given a Game Pass tag on Mixer last June 2020 during the PC Gaming Show, which I was streaming, which I noted on Twitter. We'll definitely be talking about Persona later. Anan says, I love your name. Are you excited for the Wheel of Time TV show and possibly a game by one of the myriad of great RPG devs in the world? Yes. It seems like every single time we do a show or something, I always see people saying, they recognize the name. Rand al'Thor, obviously taken from the Wheel of Time, my favorite book series. I am beyond incredibly excited for the TV show that Amazon is doing. I'm still, I don't know, I hopefully the trailer comes out, it's not horrible where you watch it and you're like, oh my god, this is going to be bad. People are going to, they're like, oh, you named yourself after this dude, and and this is a horrible show, you know what I mean? Yes, I am excited, but I'm also, nervous that it's actually going to be good. And I would love, for Obsidian or Bethesda or, CD Projekt Red to make a Wheel of Time TV show, or Wheel of Time game, rather. I think that would be great. RA89 says, hey guys, do you have any info more on those Dolby Vision games we saw leak? Love the show. Yeah, Jez, you see, I think Borderlands 3, people were posting pictures of it actually running in Dolby Vision. Do you have any info on that?
I have no information about what's going on with Dolby Vision. I don't doubt that the pictures are real. I don't know why anyone. That'd be a weird thing to fake, wouldn't it? So I don't doubt that they're real. I have no idea when it's coming, or if it's coming. It might be a sort of skip ahead ring thing. I'm only on the not skip ahead, the one below skip ahead. What's that?
Alpha. I'm on alpha as well.
Alpha ring. So I'm not on the skip ahead ring. So there's some features that I can't check out, and also my TV doesn't have Dolby Vision, I guess. Which,
Yeah, I have
like,
Dolby
this
Vision,
kind of
but I haven't loaded up Borderlands yet. So, yeah. Red Cloud Gamer says can't see all DLC included, but maybe an animal one-time use token to redeem an ultimate version of Microsoft game of your choice could work. Looney Boy says, rumor that Phil will grow Tango Games Studio rapidly if they can acquire more Japanese devs pubs. Seems like he was eager to go there in person ASAP. Well, Phil's always talked about how he wanted to have a Japanese studio, and he's got Tango and the legendary Shinji Mikami's there who created Resident Evil. And, there's talk that he might leave, but then he wants to create like a last masterpiece. And if I'm Phil, I go over there and be like, listen, make whatever game you want. Make it the best game you've ever made. Don't worry about the money. Don't worry about the monetization. We just want you to make a game that that you want to make, because it just sells itself. Like Shinji Mikami's last game. You know what I mean? And that would convince maybe more Japanese developers that Xbox is really in it, and that maybe they have to take Xbox a little bit more seriously. Maybe opens up the doors some more Japanese developers, Japanese studios, more games coming to Xbox, et cetera, et cetera. Cartoon
a halo effect.
Yeah, halo effect. Cartoon Nerd donated $1 and didn't say anything, but he also said later on in the super chat, do we know what Compulsion is doing, and could we see that game this year? Could it be one of the games Jason Ronald said wasn't announced? Interesting question. Do I think we see Compulsion's game this year? There's always a possibility we see it in the game showcase, but maybe not. And I don't think it was the game Jason Ronald was talking about. I think the game Jason Ronald was talking about was Forza Horizon 5, Jez. Any info on Compulsion and when we'll see it?
I have no idea about Compulsion's game. Like I've heard mixed things. I heard ages ago that it was a puzzle game. Then I heard that it was a third-person game in some way. I don't really know anything about it, honestly. So it's another one of them. Wait and see.
Wait and see. What do you think Jason Ronald was talking about when he said the game he was most interested in was going to be, coming, not announced for this year? Do you think that's Forza Horizon 5?
I don't know, because they've got a lot of projects being incubated right now, and I don't really know what games Jason likes, thinking about it.
He said one of his all-time favorite franchises was Forza Horizon.
I should probably just listen to that podcast.
You should. Iron Lords is one of the best podcasts out there. Shout out to Cognito, David, Attic, Sovereign. Like, they recently had ACG on. Angry Centaur Gaming does reviews. I was on there as well, which was awesome. They had Jason on. They're honestly one of the best podcasts out there. Like, they're one of the few podcasts I listen to every single week, honestly. So, we might see Compulsion's game. We could see it announced at the Summer Game Showcase, but I think the Summer Game Showcase is more going to focus on titles releasing in 2022, and I'm not sure that game's coming out next year. So, Tony Art says, have a great show, you two. Always great to listen to you guys during my night shift. A lot of people listen to this at work or when they're driving around, and it's cool that we can keep people, minds off of whatever menial task they're doing, especially when they're working at night, because I know how that can be. Mumble Speed Talker says, first off, always enjoy listening to your guys' podcast while I work. Do you think there's a concern if Microsoft continues to buy too many studios? I mean, concern in what manner? Concern about industry consolidation? Concern that, that they have too many to manage properly? I mean, I guess there is that. Like, if you buy too many studios, can you manage them all effectively, right? But that's one of the reasons why Bethesda is going to operate itself, but still answer to Phil. I don't think I don't think there'll be a whole bunch of concern. Because it's not like Microsoft's going to buy literally everybody. Maybe they buy another publisher. Maybe they buy a couple smaller studios. I expect Sony to buy a couple studios, soon. Not necessarily like soon as in like next week, but, by the end of the year. I don't think it's much of a concern. Do you see? Are you concerned, Jez, about all that?
I mean, I can see like the idea that putting all your trust in a publicly traded corporation, it's a bit dodgy. There's only a finite amount of amazing devs out there at the end of the day, and there's a huge demand for new games, and there's a huge demand for like this industry that just seems to be showing like invincible non-stop growth. Like I don't think the game industry has ever shrunk except for like the famous crash in the 80s or whatever. But the industry just keeps growing and growing and growing and seems to be like finding new ways to print money every single year. So I think like there is like a vague concern maybe if that like things become homogenized or something, because I do genuinely feel like sometimes Microsoft, like, they're a bit scared of doing edgier stuff, more experimental stuff. Sometimes I feel like they're sort of at a corporate level have a cookie cutter thought process about things at times, and I don't want to sound mean about it, but it genuinely does feel like that. Or I've said on this podcast before, all of their games from Halo to Gears, they're violent, but they're all very safe. I find them all to be very safe, and they don't really push any boundaries. They don't really do anything that Microsoft would potentially find uncomfortable. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe that's not a fair comment to make or not, but it's just sort of a gut feeling. So if Microsoft buys loads of studios and takes away their creativity because it wants to keep everything safe for their corporate image, then that would be bad. But at the same time, I can't see Microsoft trying to limit people like Bethesda and stuff, because you want them to print money doing what they do best and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's kind of a roundabout way of saying, like, I do think there's potential issues with Microsoft buying too many studios, but only if they don't let the studios flex their creativity to the extent that they deserve to be able to do so.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. Shinnok Guy says, Jez Corden versus Jeff Grubb in a death battle. Who wins?
A death battle.
A death battle. Who wins between
Well,
you and Jeffrey Grubb?
well, Jeff will probably win because Americans have loads of guns, right? So I'd be screwed.
I'd say Jez wins just because I got to back my guy, I got to back my guy. So Jez wins. Mariana Pampa says, "Hey Jez, just wanted to say I really enjoyed the one-on-one interview you did with Ainsley on Season Gaming. Appreciate what you both do. Have an awesome Friday, guys." So yeah, you did Ainsley Bowden, who runs Season Gaming, did a industry perspective, and you were a guest, right?
Yeah, he invited me on to do sort of talk about the industry, and he interviews people who work in the industry sometimes, and has a little chat. Very cool guy, really awesome at interviews, far better than me.
Did you talk about me at all?
Huh?
Did you mention me? Did you talk about me? Yeah.
I can't remember, man.
Jeez, not even mention. Did you mention it the podcast or what?
No, I talked about Tim Dog a bit. Said Tim Dog was cool.
Yeah, shout out to Tim. I know he's out there recuperating because he tested positive for COVID. I don't know if you saw that news yesterday. So Tim, if you're listening, love you, man. Take it easy, get well, and hopefully hopefully you get like a really mild case where nothing really affects you. But man, I'm thinking about you. Hopefully everything's well, buddy.
Oh,
yeah.
A lot of people I know from New York have got it or had it recently.
Yeah, I mean, I basically haven't gone anywhere this whole time, and when I do go somewhere, like when I drive around and I go to like maybe like a drive-through, I always wear the masks because I don't want to get sick. I just always had this thought in my head: if I did get sick, it wouldn't end well for me. So I basically just order everything from Amazon, and I don't really have to go anywhere, so it works out for me. Wolf Assassin says, "Hey guys, 2 questions: which old IP or canceled game from Xbox would you want to come back, and which studio would Xbox definitely not acquire?" Well, the Xbox not acquire one, I think we dodged the bullet because they were talking to Gearbox at one point, and obviously Embracer bought them, so that would be the one I wouldn't want to acquire, because of Randy Pitchford.
Yeah, I like Gearbox, but I don't. Randy Pitchford probably would cause problems for Microsoft corporate image, so to say. But I what I'm gonna say is one studio that I always see rumored, and I personally don't think they'd ever buy them. And it'd be funny if they ended up buying them now that I say this. But I don't think they'd ever buy Konami. I don't see that.
Oh well,
I always
yeah. There was that stupid rumor. I don't know if you saw it this week that Microsoft was going to acquire Sega and Konami, and I was just sitting there like, this is the dumbest thing because Konami offers literally nothing. They have no studios. They're basically out of gaming. Sure, they have Silent Hill and Metal Gear, but they don't have anybody to make it, and they don't have any of the creative people that made it what it was, like Kojima, right? So like, what are you buying? You're just buying the IP, but who are you going to have make it? And Xbox wants to do little like second party deals where they don't own the studios this generation because it really hurt them. So like, I get Sega makes sense. PC presence, Japanese presence, a big name, but Konami makes literally 0 sense.
You also get one of the criticisms from the community is that Microsoft has no sort of nostalgic family games like your Mario or your Zelda or whatever. Having Sonic and making a good Sonic game would solve that overnight. So I can see Sega. I can definitely see Sega. I cannot see Konami. Like when has Microsoft ever made a horror game, for example? And I know like Microsoft, they're not huge fans of horror games, because they're kind of niche, like outside of your Resident Evils and stuff. And even Resident Evil doesn't sell as well as Monster Hunter these days. So, it just doesn't make any sense. And like you say, Metal Gear needs Kojima to function, I feel. So I don't think they'd ever buy Konami.
Which old IP or canceled game from Xbox would you want to come back? I mean, a lot of people would say Scalebound. I'm not one of them. I know a lot of people will say Banjo. I know everybody in chat. Like, let us know in chat, what old IP or canceled game from Xbox would you like to see come back? I'm interested in seeing people's diverse reactions to this, and I just have a feeling people will either say Scalebound or they'll say Banjo. And honestly, Banjo probably should come back. I know it's not a game I'm interested in, but it definitely has its fans around the world. I mean, Microsoft licensed out the character to appear in Smash. So I'm gonna give my pick. Which one would I like to see come back? And it is Viva Pinata. I actually really like Viva Pinata.
What?
I actually do. I played both Viva Pinata games. I actually really like Viva Pinata. I thought it was cool. I played it.
That is the last game I would.
Well, okay. You know what? All right. Let me change it. I like Viva Pinata. I would like to see it come back. I will change my response because that's a little bit out there. Because I want Killer Instinct to come back. I want them to find a developer.
I didn't think you like those kind of games.
Well, Viva Pinata was interesting. I don't know. I also played the second one in co-op, which was a lot of fun. But Killer Instinct needs a sequel, 100%. And I think it's a shame we haven't got one. So my vote would be for Killer Instinct. But hey, if you want, Rise, Son of Rome, Ninja Gaiden, a new Phantom Dust, right? Like, let us know in the chat. We see so many people with like all their different choices here. What would you want, Jez?
I mean, I would have said Killer Instinct 2, but you said that. But I always thought Phantom Dust had a ton of potential, like as a sort of, they need JRPGs, so you got that aspect. It's also like got the card mechanics, so you kind of have your sort of grinding aspect, which is what Microsoft likes. You could add a service component. Like for me, Phantom Dust had like a load of potential that sort of fit Microsoft's modus operandi, shall we say. And I always thought that was a really exciting possibility for like a cool project. But it'd also need the right developer. I honestly think Remedy could do it, give a good crack at that.
I see.
After playing Control and seeing Control's
there's
combat.
a whole bunch of responses in here. We got FC Violent. Shout out to you, brother. He says Lost Odyssey 2. Yeah, a lot of people would love a sequel to that. Cool Dude with Bread says Brutal Legend. Now that they own Double Fine, could have a new Brutal Legend game.
Yes.
Obviously, a bunch of people say Scalebound. Thanaros says Recore, a sequel to Recore, which could be really cool. Grudge Evo says Blue Dragon, another one of the RPGs from the 360. Naru Hin says Rise 2. which I would love a Rise 2 as well. Rob says Conquer. I'm sure Cloberl would love a Conquer to come back. Zach Yearwood says Brute Force. Pretty sure Phil hates Brute Force. I don't think we'll ever see a Brute Force or a Blinks ever again. Pretty sure he also hates Blinks.
No, Phil loves Blinks, man.
No, Phil hates Blinks.
No, he loves it, man. He told me.
That's not
go and tweet Phil about Blinks.
No, I'm not, because Phil hates Blinks. So I'm not going to mention Blinks and Phil ever again. So Killer Instinct, Phantom Dust. So what was your choice, Jez? Did you get around to saying it before it was
Phantom Dust?
Phantom Dust. Yeah,
Phantom Dust and Killer Instinct.
Mechasalt, perhaps.
Yeah, Mechasalt. But Mechasalt's out of my head because I know there's licensing issues with that. They don't fully own it. Like, they do, but they also don't fully own that IP. Mm-hmm. So even though, like, Mechasalt's, like, the perfect franchise, like, I'd love to see the Coalition take on Mechasalt so much. I think Mechasalt would be perfect for the Coalition to build a game around. But they don't fully own it. That's the problem, so you're probably never going to see that.
We even got a bunch of super chats. Trey Duke says Jet Set Radio Future. John G says Scalebound Man Dragons. Are you kidding me? Trey Dukes also says Kung Fu Chaos. Robert says Rise made by Coalition would be epic. John Z says Fusion Frenzy. iFaceCrook says imagine a Mechasalt with id Tech. Oh man, a Mechasalt with id Tech. That definitely would be.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that would be. We need a mech game. We definitely need it.
We need a mech game.
Yeah.
I was looking at Bethesda's library, because Bethesda has its own launcher, like a lot of publishers do, and through that launcher you can buy pretty much every game that's ever Bethesda has the rights to publish. So that even includes things like Hexen, which I completely forgot was an id game. Activision own it, so Microsoft doesn't own Hexen. They only own the rights to sell, as far as I'm aware, the PC version on Win32. So but there's also like loads of classic games like Commander Keen. I don't know if you're aware of that. I saw someone tweeting about Commander Keen the other day, and also I got a friend who's really loves Project Gotham Racing. Would like to see that
PGR. I love PGR. I would love for that to come back. I mean, but that's basically Forza Horizon at this point, though. So
okay.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the team who when Bazaar got shut down by Activision, they went and they formed Playground Games.
Right.
And then they're not going to have 3 racing franchises. That doesn't make a lot of sense. But man, a lot of good opinions and choices here. So that was an interesting topic. That was fun. Getting to see what everybody wants. Chief Mint says, "Hey, cheers to playing Starfield on a Duo 2 in late 2021." Timothy Weekly says, "Any word on Seagate releasing 2 to 3 terabyte external storage for Series X or S?" Not yet. Although they pretty much have said that other manufacturers will be making expanded storage for the Series X and S at some point whenever the exclusive contract runs out with Seagate at some point. I have the expansion card, and it's getting pretty full. Same with the internal. That storage is definitely going to be a bitch this gen. Silver says Fable avowed Hellblade 2 gameplay at summer event. RA89 says PlayStation making a good push with their cracking compression. What's up with the BC pack compression? The difference in game size is showing. Yeah, I've seen that. I think like Control on PS5 and versus Series X was smaller on the PS5, and I think I saw it mentioned that even Avengers, the next gen versions, there's a significant size difference between the two. Have you heard anything about this, Jez?
I don't really know much about it, but I'm guessing that like the faster storage speed on the Sony's SSD will contribute to faster decompression. Like, so I suppose for Microsoft, it's kind of like a balancing act of speed and loading and stuff like that. Like if you end up like having an SSD, but you end up the load speeds are the same because like you're having to do so much decompression, then it kind of, I don't know, it defeats the point, doesn't it? Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe it's something they could look at and give people the ability to do tweaks on. Maybe I don't know. I mean, this could actually be extremely complicated, and I'm sure it is. But like I can imagine scenarios where like they let people control over how much compression a game has when it's on your hard drive, and let you and then have a warning saying, well, if you compress it this much, it's going to take this much extra load speed or whatever. That's something they could probably explore. But I don't know.
Mercy Bucket says, I hope Microsoft executives, Phil, are watching this podcast and reading the ideas for old IPs or canceled games that need to come back. Well, we do know that Phil watches podcasts, and I know he's watched my show and my videos before because I've talked to him about it. And he did say during the Bethesda Roundtable that he watched the podcast because he hears the question about the exclusivity on those games. You know there are still some people, Jez, to this day that feel that Phil wasn't that Phil was still vague. That Xbox fans are running with this narrative that Phil didn't really say they were exclusive. Did you see that DualShockers video that was utterly ratioed
bad
to hell?
That video was terrible.
Dude, that guy, Dealer made a video about it yesterday, and he just destroyed the argument the guy was using. But it's funny because he talked about Phil's quote, right? And he played it like the whole we got complication, contracts, and we got legal things, and we got legacy, and he completely left off the part where Phil goes, "But I want you to know this is about exclusives." Completely left it off to make it seem like Phil didn't say that whatsoever, so it would support his video idea. It was horrible. And you were saying DualShockers, they basically became a clickbait SEO farm because they got purchased by another company. All their writers left, so it's no surprise they went that way, right?
Yeah, I used to really like DualShockers. Like, it was I hate reading. I think I've said that before. Like, I don't read blogs. I don't read reviews. I hate reading other websites. And also, I kind of feel like if I read other websites, it might influence my own coverage or whatever in a bad way. Maybe it would influence it in a good way. I don't know. But anyway, I'm too lazy to read a lot of the time, even disregarding that. But DualShockers was one website that I did like to read, and there was some really good columns on there, some really great writers who worked for DualShockers, and but yeah, they got purchased by some weird ad company or something, and then they were just like, well, now we're going to start flooding the site with SEO stuff, which is just it's not a good way to run a website. You have to have a balance, and they'll find out. They'll find out. Google will just see Google will know. They'll see what they're trying to do, and Google will punish them for it. So you can't get away with doing that stuff. You have to have a good balance of genuinely, compelling content that's written by humans, and then like if you want to, do some of that other stuff on the side and they call it service journalism or whatever, then sure. But you gotta have a balance. But DualShockers just went in the completely wrong direction. Clickbait and all this sort of stuff, and hopefully they can sort of pull it back around, and the company that bought them will sort of realize that that's not a good way to run a website. But I'm not surprised that they put out a video like that, because it's just like exactly what you would do if you were trying to clickbait your way to success with the minimal amount of like integrity involved, because integrity has an effort attached to it in some ways. But it is what it is.
Yeah, it was a pretty bad video. Shane Tomlin says, "Hey guys, 1.4 thousand watching. Hit the like, guys. Don't hurt for the work they put in. Let's life them." Yeah, we got like 1.5 thousand people watching, like a little bit under 500 likes. If you guys are enjoying the show, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if it's your first time here, notification bell. You guys know the drill. We appreciate everybody who tuned in. Who are watching. Red Cloud Gamer says, if Microsoft really isn't planning VR yet, and we know PlayStation is, do you think Microsoft should work out a deal to get the Oculus Rift Quest compatible with the series? We'll actually talk about that, because that's actually a topic.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah. Trey Duke says, matter of fact, get Phil in here. I demand another Jet Set Radio. Space Monkey says, if Microsoft buys Sega, they should call it the console Sega X. And Hunter Smith says there's a thread on Reset Era about Phil's quote, the day of the round table, and they are still debating it in the thread to this day. I think it's 75 pages now. Yes. They are still talking about it, and it's pretty hilarious. And Reset Era sometimes can be a joke. Like, I love all the Xbox fans at Reset Era, even though one of them actually called me toxic the other day, and I was like, me? What? I'm toxic? And he basically just like, no, you're a fanboy and blah, 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 blah. It's like, I mean, I like Xbox. Everybody knows that. I'm pretty upfront about, how I how I feel about Xbox. But I don't do console war stuff. Like, I don't talk about Xbox versus PlayStation in that manner. I like PlayStation a lot. They've released, I mean, God of War is one of my favorite games of last gen, right? So I don't know. Like, I don't like the console war stuff. Like, even my tweet yesterday about smart delivery wasn't necessarily a console war. It was just like proving, or at least like acknowledging that smart delivery, which is another topic we need to talk about as well. Like, smart delivery is not like a PR speak. It actually has a useful feature, useful properties when you compare it to how Sony decided to do their stuff. But yeah, that thread going on there. I mean, there's a dude at Reset Era who's like accepted as this huge insider, right? Who knows everything that's going on about Microsoft and Nintendo and Xbox, but the dude is just a complete, what's the word I'm looking for here? He's just a fraud, is the best way to put it. Like, a complete fraud. And anybody listening to this will know exactly who the guy I'm talking about. He doesn't know anything, has never known anything. It's just funny that people uphold them as this, like, oh, does he know something? And if it's a joke. People know who I'm talking about. I'm not going to mention his name.
Forum culture is that, like, there's a lot of over-intellectualization going on because people just want an excuse to post. So they overthink things, and like stuff that really doesn't need a lot of thought gets way more thought than it needs because they want an excuse to post and up their post count. So you get people who like want to seem smart by making these like grand assumptions and these hot takes. And the problem is, if they're wrong, it doesn't matter because they're anonymous. No one remembers. Nobody cares. No one's keeping a track record because it's not their job. And, you know, they just slip into anonymity and it doesn't matter. There's like no downside. If I make a prediction and it's wrong, even slightly, even if I say this is just a guess, based on what, like, my personal feelings, even if I say there's no information attached to this, I get so much people coming at me and saying like, you were wrong, ha ha ha, you don't know anything. Like, despite the fact that I leaked all the specs accurately, I leaked the launch date, the price accurately, I even leaked the March 26th event accurately. You know, recently, like, my track record is pretty damn solid when it comes to
no, bro. You see, like, Reset Era let this dude Klee run around before the run up to the next gen consoles, and they verified him, and his verification was that I forget, I don't know what the verification was, but he had proof that the PS5 was strong, or like had more teraflops, because that was obviously the big contention, right? Than the Series X. And they let him run around and just spin this narrative for months and months and months. And everybody was like, well, he's verified by the mods at Reset Era, and that means something, right? Even though, like, we had both heard the opposite, that, you know, that the Series X was indeed stronger, that Lockhart was real, because this dude also said Lockhart wasn't real. Like, you know, a lot of people at Reset Era have egg on their face. Like, GitHub wasn't real, all this stupid stuff, that PlayStation had their own version of smart delivery. And what ended up happening when the real information came out, that dude ended up leaving. I read Reset Era just because it's a good, you know, aggregate of like where the news is and stuff. But some of the people that they consider insiders aren't really. It's just hilarious to see, and people forget how it was. Where like, before the reveal, Sony's reveal of their console, it was all teraflops, 13 teraflops versus Xbox's whatever. And then essentially when they lost on that, it became SSD, and suddenly SSDs were the most game-changing tech ever in video game console history. It's just hilarious to see. Just hilarious.
It's just
there's a reason why a lot of industry people do not post and do not want to go to that website whatsoever. You know what I mean?
No, the wider industry considers it to be a very toxic place, frankly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but like I say, not everyone there is like that.
No,
it's
of course
just sort of the vocal minority.
Yeah. Right. Shout out to the best bot kid, Smooth. Bad few days on Xbox for me. Wireless headset bricked. and the latest Outer World expansion crashes Xbox after beating last boss, but fails to save progress. Good news, I secured another Series X. Man, you've been going through the ringer on some of this stuff, like NBA 2K21 basically crashing on you as soon as you start a game. That sucks to see that your headset was bricked right away and that the Outer Worlds was having problems. Hopefully the new Series X fixes that for you. Have you heard about this NBA 2K problem? Because that's the game I've been playing pretty much all week. 2K. It works perfectly fine on my console, but for a lot of other people, it crashes a lot.
I think we talked about it on this podcast before when you were talking about how like you guys, dealer and that, were trying to play a game and it was crashing for some of you and not other people. That's really weird.
It is quite weird. Very weird. Jeez, we got so many here to go through. Sin Vendetta says, Rand, you're not kidding.
We haven't started the topics yet?
No, we haven't, because there's just so many of these, and I have to read them off because people are supporting the show with their hard-earned money. Like I'd feel bad if I didn't, but people seem to, what can I do? It says, Sin says, Rand, you're not kidding, because my buddy, who's a big PlayStation gamer, is so convinced that Elder Scrolls 6 is coming to PlayStation that we have to slap a bet about it. Man, I cannot wait to win that bet. Yes. Alexander says, I want Xbox to buy Konami so we can get more Castlevania, Silent Hill, and Metal Gear games made this decade. It would be great if we got more of those as well. I love all three of those franchises.
I love Silent Hill. Silent Hill is one of my favorite franchises of all time, and like I was mind-blowingly excited for PT and Silent Hills, and then Konami had to go and ruin my life, didn't they?
Yeah. Drunken Ninja says, yeah, Phil, if you're listening, Jet Ground Radio and Jet Set Radio Future need a sequel or released on Back and Pat, please. Tim Chimney says, I would like to spend money to get Rand to say UWU out loud. Ooh, love to you both. Oh no, I said it. And ooh. I don't even know what that means. Jez says it to me all the time in DMs. Trey Duke says, I'm not letting this Jet Set Radio thing die, even if they have to use your platform and empty my bank account. Please hear me, Lord Phil. Jeez. That's crazy. He definitely wants his Jet Set Radio game, huh? And Chinook Guy says, UW Rand Senpai, what indie games are you guys looking forward to seeing next week? What have you done, Jez? What is going on here?
Rand Senpai, I love it.
I really want to see. That's a good transition point, because I think this is the last of them for now, so we can talk about the Xbox event that they're putting on March 26th. So if you guys are enjoying the show, hit the like button. We got a whole bunch of you here. Appreciate all the support. Indie games, Jez, right? So do your spiel. Say how you're right again, because you said there was going to be an event. People from Xbox said, what event? There's no event. And what do you know it? There is an event. Right?
Well, what they said was there was not going to be an event where there's any upcoming major gaming news or whatever, or something along those lines. But I never wrote that in my article. I said I was expecting smaller games, and I kind of tied it to Paul Thurrott. I almost said he's not. I still am not sure how to pronounce his name. I tied it to Paul Thurrott's tweet where he said there was an event on the 23rd. And I thought maybe they'd moved it. But some people think that that's a different event. And there might actually be at some kind of developer show just for developers. Maybe not even public on the 23rd. So that might be a different thing entirely. But yeah, there is an Idea Xbox event on the 26th that features over 100 games. I suppose some of those will be in the montage, and 25 new game trailers, I believe, if I'm remembering the article correctly. We're going to hear about games like 12 Minutes, presumably, The Ascent, and some of those big games that were announced last May at last May's showcase. I think Microsoft probably wanted to downplay expectations after some people reacted negatively to last year's show. Maybe it was a bit overhyped and a bit missold last time. I don't know. But yeah, we're getting an Idea Xbox event in partnership with Twitch Gaming. So no YouTube. There's no YouTube. There's no Facebook Gaming. It's just going to be on Twitch, which is a bit weird, but also not entirely unexpected, I guess.
Right. Shout out to Modern Vintage Gamer with the super chat. It says, "Lol, Reset Era." People know all about Reset Era. Thanks for stopping by, buddy. Yeah, he's got a great channel, Jez. By the way, you should check it out. He's over 500,000 subscribers, puts out incredible content, and he's one of the members on the Spawnwave podcast as well. One of the other podcasts that I do check out every single week, only for me to actually say controlled leak to MVG.
So, I was just gonna say that earlier I said we wouldn't see a MechAssault game on Xbox from Microsoft because they don't fully own it, but they do own the publishing rights to make video games based on that IP, and it was just announced that MechWarrior 5 is coming to Xbox in May. So
really,
so we are getting a mech game.
So who's writing that story up right now? Anybody? Was it literally just announced?
Yeah, I believe so. Hazardor Gaming tweeted it.
Oh, Oh, okay. Interesting. I'm interested in seeing at this show, answer the question. I want to see 12 minutes. I want to see release date for that. I think that game looks incredible. Can't wait to play it. The Ascent looks awesome. We know it's coming to Game Pass. We still don't have a release date. That's the problem with Xbox right now, is we don't know the release dates of anything. Like, they talked about how they have 30 games coming exclusively this year to the platform, but we don't know dates for any of them. We don't even know dates for Psychonauts 2, right? When's that supposed to be coming out? So
I think this year could be a big squeeze for the tech industry. Like the fact we got this semiconductor shortage going on now. Like Samsung just announced that their Exynos, I don't even know how you pronounce that, but Samsung's like SoC they make for their phones in Europe. They were saying like they've run out of semiconductors for that, and all the companies that switch to work from home, the demand for servers, the demand for gaming devices, and all that stuff. That's like hitting the industry across the board. And alongside that, we're also going to see this sort of like this wave of game delays, I think. So like when people talk about Starfield and Halo maybe slipping to 2022, it's with that in mind, is that we had a lot of games shipped last year, but they, the games that were sort of nearing the last year of their development were heavily disrupted last year. And still, like the pandemic's not over yet. Hopefully it will be this year, but it's still not over. So I think there's going to be disruption this year. And I suppose a lot of devs don't want to announce their launch dates because of that disruption.
I think Stalker tweeted something out 55 minutes ago. They tweeted out, "Hi Stalkers, a quick update about GCS's president at the ID at Xbox stream. March 23rd will mark the 14th anniversary of Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl. Celebrating the date last year, we released the first in-engine screenshot of Stalker 2. This time we made a neat behind-the-scenes video with certain in-game materials demonstration. We prepared this for Microsoft stream on March 26th, but the whole thing was revealed a little bit too early on Xbox Wire blog. We didn't plan to show more during the showcase, but we do have bigger and louder announcements in store for 2021. This mistake was corrected in several minutes, but it was enough for the news to spread all over the internet. The same can happen with this note, so we're attaching some artworks from Stalker 2. These ones would look wonderful in every post. We are sorry about the inaccuracy, but we're still more than eager to make your day a little bit happier on March 26th, so don't forget to hop on the stream."
Yeah, see, that's the problem with a lot of this stuff. When everything's remote, it feels like things can slip through the cracks more easily like this. Maybe someone would have caught it if it wasn't all work from home, but
yeah.
It is what it is.
So there's going to be an update for the game, but we'll see. Obviously, they're pretty much saying like don't expect much. But yeah, I just want to get release dates for some of these games that are coming out. I'm always down to see new trailers for great indie titles. So yeah, that's the events that happening this March 26th. So keep your expectations in check. Don't go into this thinking that you're going to see Halo or Starfield or Wolfenstein or Fable or Avowed.
Elden Ring, man.
Yeah, Elden Ring. Elden Ring doesn't even exist.
Wait, you telling me Elden Ring's not going to be at the show?
I'm telling, yeah. There's going to be people out there that are like going to stream this thinking that it's like Xbox's main show and they're going to be disappointed or something. It's going to happen.
I had a bunch of tweets and DMs saying like, is Elden Ring going to be there? I suppose because From Software is independent or whatever. But no, Elden Ring's not going to be there.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be funny if Elden Ring was there now?
Shout out to Mega Bad Seed. He says, how are you fellas? We're doing good, Mega. We're doing good. Great Xbox week. Ton of stuff to cover. And we're just getting into the topics now. This show might be 3 hours. People just...
It's going to be a long one.
The generosity is always humbling. Jez, we need to talk about Persona, okay? Because I feel like people really want to know about this. I actually put it in the title. Persona on Xbox question mark? Because Hazardor Gaming had a little thing about, hey, hopefully Persona comes to Xbox, blah 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 blah. You replied to it with a smiley face confirming that Persona is coming to Xbox, so much so that websites wrote these in-depth articles about your single smiley face. And then, of course, our buddy from Xbox Era, Special Ed, Nick, he's been teasing Persona coming to Xbox as well. So, do you want to expand your thoughts on this? And remember, keep it clickbaity so anybody listening to the show can write more articles on what you're going to say here. And don't forget to say Randall Thor 19 as well, because I'm a part of this podcast too, damn it.
Well, Randall Thor 19, the YouTuber.
Mm-hmm.
The YouTube insider game journalist.
That's not true,
millionaire.
But okay. Just clickbait YouTubers is good for me.
Millionaire YouTuber.
I wish.
I just, well, first of all, I was posting smiley face because Hazardor's a mate, you know. I think like
he's a bro.
It's one of the he's a bro. So there's first of all, there's this weird context thing on Twitter where like sometimes I'll banter with someone and people will think that I'm arguing with them or something, but it's just like we're friends and we're bantering or something. So this is really hard because I'm trying to say this in such a way that it doesn't like, raise expectations or whatever. I don't have any hard evidence that Persona's coming to Game Pass, so I'll just say that right now. But I will say that I keep hearing on the grapevine from connected places where rumors it's not an exact science, right? Rumors bubble up like a wellspring and sort of materialize over time. And one of the rumors now amongst industry people who are in the know generally is that Microsoft is working on getting Persona into the platform somehow. But the thing is, it's also not exactly news because
no, it's not really.
No, because A, of course they are, because they would like that to be on Xbox Game Pass. And B, I believe there was an event where someone yelled at Phil, Persona, and Phil said, I hear you, or something to that degree. So it's kind of known that they're working on it. But also it just kind of makes sense. Like Yakuza did really well in Game Pass, and Microsoft's seeing sort of increase in support maybe from some of those classic franchises which historically avoided the platform. It almost just kind of makes sense at this point. And also I believe one of the SMT games, Shin Megami Tensei, I don't know which one it was. One of them was just rated for the Windows Store. Nobody plays games on the Windows Store. So, unless they're in Game Pass. So that's sort of if Atlas is looking to port like the SMT series, of which Persona is shares a lineage or is part of effectively. That sort of raises the prospects as well. It's basically at this point there's smoke, right? And what they say is there's no smoke without fire. But I have no hard evidence whatsoever. So if it doesn't happen,
if you had hard evidence, like what would be hard evidence for you? Because I'm curious.
Confirmation from a trusted source or a document leak or something like that. Usually a document leak, because I don't think anyone from Microsoft has ever really leaked anything to me. But typically when things start spreading out across the industry, Microsoft might give embargoes to certain websites that are kind of, maybe don't secure their information well enough. Stuff like that. So things can leak like that, but I don't have any hard evidence. Like, I had hard evidence that there was an event on the 26th. I had hard evidence of that. So I published it, and I was like, yeah, I'm sure this is going to happen. Because I don't want to publish something and then disappoint everyone. So I have no hard evidence about Persona coming to Xbox whatsoever. So I tweeted a smiley face. Kind of like, because I feel like it will happen. But I also don't know. That's what a smiley face means. That's all it means. That's what I'm going to say.
So you're saying it's confirmed. Personas.
Exactly.
I would not be surprised if Persona comes to Xbox. I don't know when, and I'm not sure they'll start with Persona 5. I wouldn't be surprised if Persona 4 Golden comes first. But I do believe they'll get the Persona series on the console. Like, it'll come to Game Pass, essentially.
I believe. I believe that too. And like I say, no evidence. Don't take it as confirmation. Please, dear God, do not take it as confirmation. Because I don't want to be responsible for disappointment.
You just want another article written about you about this?
No, don't write an article about this. I mean, write an article about Rand, because Rand said he believes. Why don't you get the article? You said
because I'm a nobody. I'm a nobody. I'm just a random YouTuber who could be saying anything. You're the great and powerful Jez Corden from Windows Central. You know what I mean? There's a difference. Like, you've leaked, as you mentioned, like, you put a whole tweet out about how all these things you leaked and how they all turned out to be correct, right? And I know people listening to the show for a while have known, like, a lot of my predictions will end up coming true. Of course, I still get stuff wrong. So I do fully believe that Persona will make its way to the Xbox platform via Game Pass at some point in time. I just don't know when. I'm not privy to that sort of information. You know what I mean? Tony Art says Rand only has soft evidence.
Soft evidence. That's a good one.
Yeah. So yeah. So there's that. I know Special Ed is basically being like, hey, this is happening. So he's putting his neck out on the line, right? He's putting it out there.
Ed tweeted a whole ass picture with the logo on it.
Yeah. So if that doesn't show up,
I don't have the balls to do that. My evidence is not good enough to have the balls to do that. So, you know, if Ed's evidence is good enough that he stick his neck out like that, then I think that's like maybe a good sign. I don't know, but time will tell. You know.
Yeah, indeed. We got a funny super chat here from Tom Lag Jez. Quote, I don't have any knowledge about Persona coming to Game Pass, but, quote, the internet, Persona 100% confirmed coming to Game Pass. Sin Vendetta says, honestly, I just want to know what happened to last night. Yeah, that game was revealed in like 2017. I think there was like someone pulled funding or something from that game. I'm not sure what happened.
Yeah, I think like something
happened in that game. Yeah,
like the last night looks absolutely stunning. It's like pixel art game, a cyberpunk sort of thing. Looks really cool.
Z Black Rider says, everyone wants money. All games will eventually be on Game Pass. I wouldn't say all games, but, you know, Game Pass is a good way to get titles that wouldn't come to Xbox. Because Yakuza was never going to come to Xbox if it wasn't for Game Pass. Yeah. And you could probably even make the case for what we're going to talk about next, like Octopath Traveler, Persona when it comes. Like, this is a way for Xbox to grease the wheels to get games that would never show up. Wolf Assassin says, hi again, sorry to interrupt, but another question. If Microsoft added Ubisoft Plus, would they raise the price of Game Pass due to the extensive lineup? I don't think they'll add Ubisoft Plus. Like, I think when we've talked about that, Ubisoft Plus means, like, the games day one into the service, right? Where I believe what's really going to happen is just, like, the Ubisoft games will hit the service, like, the backlog titles.
Ubisoft Vault.
Yeah, the Ubisoft Vault, essentially. Yeah, what Jez said.
There was a good tweet recently. I can't remember who tweeted this, but someone tweeted at Jason Ronald. It'd be a good idea if we could have publisher collections on Xbox Game Pass, similarly to how like Disney Plus has like the Marvel section, the Star Wars section, and stuff like that. And Jason Ronald agreed. Like he added some of the people who work on that team, so it could just be like a publisher collection similar to EA Play. But I think it would have a brand. They call it like Ubisoft Vault or something like that. Because like EA Play has its own special brand, why wouldn't Ubisoft? So I don't think it's going to be Uplay Plus. It's going to be some kind of vault of older games, like Brand said.
Yeah. Viper XT says Persona will be on Xbox when Microsoft purchases Sega and Atlas. And Faisal007 says smart delivery puts PS5 to shame. We will definitely be talking about smart delivery. And Zener White says supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. There we go.
Do you not like Mary Poppins?
No, I've seen Mary Poppins, obviously, when I was younger. Jez, we need to talk about Xbox's huge week. Because they were dropping announcements all the time about stuff. And the big announcement, which I don't think a lot of people saw coming, was Outriders, a game that is launching on April 1st. of a AAA game, $60. People Can Fly, developed, Square Enix published, looter shooter. It's coming to Game Pass on day one, and this is kind of the first of its kind. What did you think of that announcement and how much it propelled Game Pass into this, and Xbox into this sphere of pretty huge social media, what's the word I'm looking for here? Views, tracking, you heard nothing like that Monday when it was announced. All anybody talked about was Xbox and Game Pass and how great it was.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't see this happening, but I do remember you saying last year that Microsoft needs to do something like this. I remember you saying last year Microsoft should drop the big bucks and get Cyberpunk in there. Yep. Kind of glad they didn't now, aren't you?
I mean, who knew that Cyberpunk was going to be the way it was? And by the way, Cyberpunk's still not on PlayStation. It's been gone for 3 months now, essentially.
It got a big update today as well, Cyberpunk did. I need to go back and check it out, see if it polished anything up. But I digress. Outriders into Game Pass is it's almost like a watershed moment. Like we're now getting big third-party games launching straight into the service, and it's not going to be the last one. It's another part of the grand experiment. Can Game Pass propel a game that maybe had mixed reactions and stuff like that, but still has this sort of chance to grow into something maybe more compelling? I don't believe they categorically repeatedly say it's not a service game. I don't believe that for a minute. I believe it's a service game. I believe it will get DLC. I believe it'll have an end game. I believe it'll expand. You don't make a game that's always online, requires a Square Enix account, unless it's a service game. I just don't believe them. I think they don't want to call it a service game because they know if they call it a service game and it's not ready to be a service game, similarly to Marvel Avengers and arguably the Division, and some of these other games that sort of had bold promises but didn't deliver the kind of end game that it needs to be sustainable. They don't want to call it a service game, but I believe firmly that it is. But Game Pass could give it the legs it needs to sort of get a fan base while they pivot maybe further in that direction to make it into a sort of servicey type game. It's an interesting experiment, and a lot of people will be watching to see how it does. I saw Forbes put out a piece recently where they had a bunch of interviews with different devs, talk from Codemasters and stuff like that, talking about how it had improved the engagement for Dirt and stuff like that. And it's a lot of devs were skeptical about it and what it would do for them, do for the service, do for their games too. And so far, it's like I say, it's just been positive stuff. There's always detractors who say is it sustainable, and is it bad for devs, and is it bad? How can Microsoft afford this? And there's a lot of weird questions about that because Microsoft isn't the most transparent when it comes to Xbox's financials, but they wouldn't do it if it wasn't sustainable, right?
Well, I mean, I don't know about. I mean, they've talked about that it is sustainable and all that stuff, and I mean, they're obviously in acquisition phase. And Gaming Addict says, "Jez, tell these people we don't got issues." So Gaming Addict wants you to tell everybody that you and him don't got issues.
Issues? Why?
I don't know. Apparently, people say
I got loads of issues.
Well, we all have loads of issues, but I don't think you have any issues with Addict though. So.
Oh, with Addict?
Yeah.
Nah, my only issue with Addict is that he's not very good at Pokemon.
Oh, he's not very good at Pokemon. You hate to hear it. But this Outriders thing,
so bad at Pokemon, man.
This Outriders thing is interesting because I've been saying for a while that the next thing they needed to do was get big third-party AAA games on the service. We have great indies that launch on there all the time. There's a bunch, they just added 20 Bethesda games, or not 20, some of them are already on there, 12, right? They added FPS boost to some of that. That's all great. It just adds more value to the service. And it's obviously going to be much better and bigger when Starfield hits, and Halo, and Forza Horizon 5, and the Fable and Avowed, and all those games from Microsoft and Bethesda start hitting end of the year in 2022. But I've always thought to myself, man, what would it be like if Microsoft could have gotten like a Division 2 launching day one? that like game that is like so huge that everybody talks about, and it's like you could get that game on Game Pass immediately, right? I was like, felt that is the next step, because when you think about what the casuals play, or like people that aren't necessarily watching this podcast, you think about the big AAA titles. And I always felt like to take that next step to see if it was worth it, you have to at least try it once. All right, so you have this Outriders game, which, they put the demo out. Some people love it, some people don't like it. Square Enix has invested probably a lot of money in it, especially after the quote-unquote failure of Avengers. They maybe don't want 2 back-to-back games as a service, or whatever you want to call it, games like faceplant. And, Microsoft comes in and is like, hey, you know what? We want the game on the service, want it there day one. Here's some money. Square Enix is like, okay, we'll put it in there. Now it's going to have a user base, right? People are going to check it out. I've seen a ton of people being like, all right, I'm going to play this game now, because why not? It's in your subscription. You can play it for free. So just download it, try it out. I mean, I don't know how long it's going to be in the service. It might be 3 months, maybe 6, maybe only a month. But it's a good test case scenario for Microsoft to see how much a game like this, that is going to be heavily marketed by Square and Xbox by Game Pass, to see how many new subscribers does it bring in, how many people of their existing 18 million, which I would imagine is over 20 million now, how many of those are going to be engaging and downloading a game of that caliber, and how long they play, right? And for Square Enix, it makes sense because they want this game to be a success, so you get a whole bunch of people. It's cross-play, so a lot of people to play with. And then maybe this could be that moment where other publishers look at Game Pass differently, right? That watershed moment where other publishers who have titles look at it and is like, maybe it's in our best interest to launch the game on Game Pass day one, and then also sell it on Xbox, on PlayStation, on PC, if the data for it is good. Like, you can imagine Microsoft going and to like Warner Brothers and being like, hey, this is what it did for Outriders. We would like it. Can we have Back 4 Blood or something like that? Another co-op game. Or they go to Capcom and they say, Resident Evil 8, we'd love to have you. Obviously, probably not Resident Evil 8. Maybe they got some things with PlayStation. But you get what I'm trying to say, right? If it's that, if it really drives engagement and it's really good for the title, then other publishers might be being like, we'll take the check from Microsoft. It's going to be good for us in the long run. We're still going to sell. And this could be that moment. And I'm pretty sure that this isn't going to be the only AAA game day one that Microsoft goes and gets. They will go and they'll try this again with other games.
Rand, we've got a leak from a breaking leak.
What? Where?
Now, this leak comes via the Drunk Cat, alcoholic host on
the Drunk Cat.
Twitter. Drunk Cat, cool dude. He tweets that this is from 4chan's video game board. So obviously 4chan leaks are all not is the best, but he says that the same leaker was accurate yesterday about Shin Megami Tensei 3 being rated for the Microsoft Store. He says Persona 5 Royale for Switch, Steam, and Xbox Game Pass soon. Don't know when it's going to be announced. And so there's more smoke, and it is 4chan, but
I mean, he says this guy was right about the Shin Megami Tensei yesterday, so it leads credence to Persona.
That's credence. So like the guy is like,
So like I said, I said in my video, you said, you hear things, not hard evidence like a marketing plan or stuff like that, but the rumors are that Persona's coming, is essentially what I've been hearing. But like my point about Game Pass is like that this could be that moment, right? Where you get these bigger games on the service day one, and it gets more eyes on it, more people subscribe, and it helps out the publishers. It could be a win-win scenario for everybody. Not a win-lose, not, a win-win. And this could be that moment. Now, however, obviously the opposite could happen. Maybe it doesn't drive a lot of Game Pass subscribers, and the money Microsoft spent was too much, right? That could happen. Maybe it doesn't help Outriders whatsoever. That could happen. And the data that you would be presented to other third parties isn't as good. So it's obviously, both can happen. But there was an article today, I think I saw from Game Industry Biz, that talked about Game Pass and how it's not cannibalizing sales. And there's this kind of false narrative that people spread, mainly like PlayStation fans that don't like Xbox, that like nobody buys games on Xbox. Nobody buys games. The reason Game Pass exists is because nobody buys games, and that is just a load of bullshit. People buy games, you know. I mean, I don't know how people can even come to. I know it's like they're just obviously that's just like, well, we buy games on our platform. Xbox don't buy games and stuff like that. It's like, no, dude, games are like there's like they sell a ton, so it's just one of those things, man. You know what it is? You know what I mean? Like it's always one narrative, and like you push back on that narrative, the goalposts move, and it's some brand new one, and then the goalposts will move again, and it'll be some brand new goalpost. It's utterly just exhausting to fight against. But yeah, then they announced like the new games coming this week. Were you surprised that Octopath Traveler not only is coming to Xbox, but is going to be Game Pass day one? That was a surprise.
That was a huge surprise. I did not expect Octopath Traveler to be coming. Like it's the kind of game that like Microsoft Square Enix barely make them anymore. Like the classic turn-based JRPGs. And second, it's the kind of game that historically Xbox doesn't get, you know. So that was really cool to see. And it kind of says to me that either Microsoft is addressing feedback by spending the money they need to, or like you say, they're trying to gather evidence to show that, yeah, if you put in Game Pass, you know, we can prove that people will play these games, you know, that maybe historically haven't sold very well on the platform. And that also they do drive sales. Because I think there was an interview before where they were saying that they have evidence and analysis that suggests that the fact that Sea of Thieves is in Game Pass helped drive sales because it improved access for content creators who then pushed it via their streaming platforms, via, you know, word of mouth and virality. And you know, the whole social media in general is sort of impacting the way we hear about, you know, TV shows and movies and stuff. Like my timeline has just been nothing but Snyder Cut all week.
Which, by the way, I watched last night. I watched the entire Snyder Cut.
Oh, without spoiling, how do you feel about it?
Way better than the Whedon Justice League, to the point where I actually really, really enjoyed this version. I kind of feel I kind of want to see a sequel. If you guys know how the this version ended, like I kind of want to see what that movie would be like. But yeah, I wasn't expecting much because I don't think Zack Snyder is a great director. He's a great you know, visual director. He's basically, you know, style over substance. But I really, really enjoyed the Snyder Cut. Yeah. So go ahead, continue. I just wanted to put that in there.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, you know, but the Snyder Cut's a good example of how fans can shape the content that comes out, and not only the content, but like how, you know, how people hear about it. Like I wouldn't have I'm not like, I like Batman, but I don't really care about the wider universe of DC. Like I don't really care about Aquaman and Superman and stuff like that. So like I wouldn't have bothered even having any interest in this. But, you know, when I hear like people like you and a lot of my friends say it's good, then yeah, maybe I'll check it out then. And like tomorrow, I think me and my brother are gonna watch that the ultimate cut of Batman versus Superman, final cut or whatever it's called. And then from that, gonna try and watch the Snyder Cut because, you know, people said it's best to watch that first. But, you know, that's sort of a roundabout way of saying, like, when you said earlier that Microsoft's still in sort of a user acquisition phase for Game Pass, there's still room to experiment with how you know, which games perform in the service and figuring out that sort of stuff. So like maybe at the moment they can afford to spend a little bit extra to get Outriders in there. And, you know, maybe games like Octopath Traveler, which don't have a huge amount of evidence. There's not going to be a huge amount of evidence in there except for like Kazuya, like a Yakuza. Kazuya? What the heck? Kazuya? Kazuya is a character from Tekken, isn't it? That's a weird mix-up. But you know, there's not a lot of JRPGs in Game Pass, is what I'm saying. There's basically only Like a Dragon. So I suppose like one way that you can get more data on that is to spend the big money and get like Octopath in there and stuff like that. So, it's cool to see, and I just hope that it does lead to your Personas and your other games and stuff, because there's so many great JRPGs out there that just don't come to Xbox. Like, frankly,
a lot of
that don't even come to PlayStation. They're all just on Steam.
A lot of Japanese developers don't want to put their games on Xbox because they feel the Xbox people wouldn't buy it. It's that self-fulfilling prophecy we always talked about. Xbox has a reputation where the users don't buy JRPGs, so they don't put them on the console, and then when they do years later after a port, it doesn't sell well, and it fulfills the prophecy that nobody buys Japanese games. But if you put them in Game Pass, you can just try it out, just like people will with Outriders. And
it takes the risk away.
Yeah, it takes the risk away, and then like maybe people like it, so they buy it. Like that's the whole thing. Like Game Pass doesn't preclude or stop people from buying the games; they still can. And it's just nice. To, like, it was weird because the beginning of this month, everybody was like, what a horrible month for Game Pass, because it was just Madden, NFL 21, and NBA 2K21, right? NHL. It was like just the sports games. And people were like, oh, that's lame. But then they made the Outriders announcements. You have Undertale finally coming to Xbox, day one in Game Pass. You have Octopath Traveler. You have these PC ports like Nier Automata and The Evil Within, from the Bethesda list that are basically better than the Steam PC ports. That basically Microsoft paid for these ports or something. Like, everybody's talking about how The Evil Within and Nier ports are way better than the Steam ones. And I don't know, it seems like it's finally getting going. And not to, you have to also think about this. In Satya Nadella's bonus package or whatever, or his compensation for the year, Game Pass is like 5%. So how much money he's going to be compensated is directly tied. It's a small percentage for sure, right? 5%. Obviously the big things are like Azure and stuff like that. But there's an actual Xbox, metric tied to his and how much he makes. So I think like Xbox wants to blow up Game Pass this year to get as many subscribers as possible, which is one of the reasons why I think Starfield is potentially going to hit this year, and why Microsoft might be targeting more of these bigger titles like Outriders. And the problem is, like, you don't even know what other big games are coming this year because everything gets delayed. Like today, Gotham Knights supposed to come out this year, delayed to 2022, and it's just the COVID and the pandemic has just completely screwed up like the releases for titles. Like there's talk, Gran Turismo 7 on the PlayStation side that got delayed to 2022. God of War still not officially delayed, but I don't think anybody believes that game is coming out this year, right? There's even rumors that Horizon Forbidden West won't launch this year. So, like, it's obviously screwing with development a lot to the point where we don't even know what other games are coming out for the end of the year, which sucks, to be honest, because like we got these new systems and it's like we just want new stuff to play on it, and the new stuff to play on it's going to be kind of sparse for a bit. You know? Yeah.
Oh, you cut out there for a minute.
Oh, I did?
Might have been my headset.
Oh, I was just talking about how COVID's basically destroyed everything and delaying everything.
Yeah, for sure.
So Starfield, next year, or this year, Jeff Grubb was on RDX, my buddy Dealer Gaming, and Colt Eastwood's, Jay Fonzarelli. I saw Fonz in chat earlier. He's awesome. D-Batch and, Lil Baby Zalker. He was on there and basically said that he's 90% sure that Bethesda will reveal Starfield this E3 showcase, and barring any COVID-related delays, is basically going to do the Fallout 4 battle plan of, hey, I'm Todd Howard, here's a 30-minute demo for Starfield. Oh, by the way, it's exclusive to Xbox, PC, and Game Pass, and it's coming out in November. Have a good day. You know what I mean?
Yes.
What do you think the likelihood of that happening is? Because I've been saying for, this whole year that I felt Microsoft was going to launch Forza Horizon 5, Halo, and Starfield like September, October, November as like a pretty good end to the year. Do you think that's realistic, or do you think Starfield might slip to early 2022?
I got no evidence on this, and I'm not particularly great at making predictions. So I I would rather defer to you and Mr. Grubb on this one.
I
If you
mean,
guys,
it's
if you
my
guys
gut
feel
feeling.
it.
Like I had heard from people that they were targeting this holiday for Starfield release. Now, whether or not it comes out is anybody's guess, because who knows? It's only March. The game could get delayed, but like I felt strongly it could happen. Uh, it obviously might not, but I want to know what you think.
Sure, I think too, right? How many years has it been since it was announced at this point?
2018, I believe.
Yeah, so there's certainly a precedent there for they didn't they do that with Fallout 4? They announced it and they were like, oh, by the way, it's coming out in 6 months. Didn't
Yeah,
they do that?
they did the same with Fallout 76 as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So that seems to be that seems to work for Bethesda, and it's it's just kind of fun and hype and stuff. And people pay attention to Bethesda, even though like arguably they haven't been firing on all cylinders in sort of recent years. I think like they've still command a huge amount of respect, and when they speak, people stand up and listen. Because people want to see them return to form. They want to see a Fallout that's more of an RPG than a shooter. They want to see Elder Scrolls 6 completely blow them away, like Skyrim did back in the day, and Starfield is a new IP from Bethesda. That's always going to have hype attached to it, right? Still, we know nothing about the game. We don't know. We've seen like some vague sort of screenshots from an early build, I believe, that aren't even fully verified. I think. So at best, we've got a few leaked screenshots, which may or may not be accurate based on the current version of the game. Literally don't know. So I, I'm eager to find out more, but again, I have no evidence, and honestly, I don't really chase game leaks so much.
Right.
So
Punkadich asks a good question. He says, "How is Starfield so hype without seeing a damn thing practically? I don't get it. Just curious." I think it's
that's like what I was going to. It's because Bethesda's earned that rep. It's
and
almost
Todd
like
Howard has earned that rep, right?
yeah, it's Todd Howard too. Like Todd Howard's Bethesda, like that studio. The guy's responsible for Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 and Skyrim, which is just still just such a massive game, one of the best selling games of all time. Box copied sales or whatever. So they've earned that legacy over the past several decades. How many decades? 30 years, 36 years or something. They've earned it. They've earned that reputation through consistent quality, delivering experiences that, well, I say quality. They're pretty notorious for buggy games and stuff, but they deliver those experiences which are like memorable and crazy and unlike anything else out there. So they've earned that. They've earned that attention. So it's similar to Kojima with Death Stranding. Like, remember, we didn't know anything about Death Stranding for the longest time. Like, what the hell is the game? Like, even after, to be fair, even after they announced it, people were like, "What the hell is this game?" Like, even if they showed gameplay,
but at least
people were like, "What the hell is this game?"
At least in that scenario, you actually saw a video to go along with it, right? Like we only have that teaser trailer.
Not initially.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's the thing. Bethesda, Kojima, like Todd Howard, has earned this sort of prestige in the industry where people stand up and listen when he's announcing a game, even if it's a new IP.
I mean,
there's a struggle when it comes to announcing new IP. There's a big struggle.
I get why people like Punk do ask that though, right? We haven't seen anything from it, but it's because of the pedigree. It's the pedigree of the team and the guy behind it. So like people like oh my god, Starfield. Todd Howard space game, from the teams like Jess said, Fallout 4, Fallout 3, Skyrim, Oblivion, like that gets people excited, even if without seeing anything, So that's what it is. Some people need to see something. Like I said, I love Elder Scrolls. I'm not the biggest fan of Fallout, so I kind of want to see what Starfield is. Is it just going to be Fallout in space? Is it just Fallout in space? Is it going to be like No Man's Sky?
I can't even imagine what kind of game it's going to be like. Like I can't even wrap my head around it. Like how would Fallout in space even work? Is it going to have like a story? Is it going to be some kind of service game where, is it going to be like No Man's Sky but on the creation?
I think Todd Howard has said it's a single player game.
Oh really?
So, yeah.
Okay, so then presumably it's going to be a sprawling open world RPG.
Yeah, and that's what people want, right?
Yeah, that's what I want.
So it'll be interesting.
Man,
I do think we'll see it this holiday, or I do think we'll definitely see it at E3. The question is whether or not it comes out this fall is the question. Now we got a super chat from the one and only Darj Knight, and he wants me to say this with passion. He says, "Come on, you irons." What does that mean? I don't know what that means.
Irons.
Yeah, I don't. Darj,
that's like a football chant. Come on, you irons.
What does that mean, Darj? I don't know your British speak, bro.
I don't know. I don't know what the irons are. Is that a rugby team or something?
I don't know. I have no idea.
It's not a football team. Unless it's one of those weird small town football teams.
We do have a lot of super chats I need to get to. Some of them I'm sure you'll find funny. Soma King says the new meta at Rand Uwu and at Jez Tharat. Chinook guy says, any idea why Xbox marketing has suddenly become better? Rand Senpai, UU. Jeez, everyone going with this UWU stuff.
No, it's Uwu,
I don't know. Maybe they have Senpai stuff to market. Maybe they were holding off on the whole Bethesda thing and just hitting people with a whole bunch of news right away. I'm not really sure. So did Darj say anything in chat? I read it. I don't know how I'm supposed to say "come on, irons." I don't even know what it means. Come on, Darj, where are you at? I don't even see him post anything. Saji Caesar says irons equals the West Ham United Football Club. Oh, okay. West Ham United Football Club. That's apparently what it means. I did not know that. Dovakin says Cyberpunk Reborn to Game Pass 100%. I was actually thinking that. Like, what if when the next gen version of Cyberpunk comes out, they just put it in Game Pass? You're right. I mean, I always thought Cyberpunk would go to Game Pass anyways at some point.
There's one thing about Cyberpunk that a lot of people forget is that they're planning on releasing a multiplayer mode, and basically their whole model for Cyberpunk was Grand Theft Auto. They were like, yeah, we'll release a massive sprawling single player game, and then after everyone's gone through that and people are still hyped about it, then we'll drop a multiplayer mode that everyone will play and love, like they love GTA Online. But it didn't work out that way. Maybe CD Projekt Red bit off a little bit more than they could chew. I don't know, but for me, if their end goal is some whatever multiplayer game they want to go for, if that is even still on the cards, then putting it in Game Pass is a surefire way of bringing people back to the beleaguered franchise.
Yeah,
man, I feel so bad about that whole Cyberpunk thing. I really do.
They went through the ringer, man. Yeah,
the hack, and like, my God. So much drama in a short space of time.
Releasing that game and how it performed on the last gen consoles, yeah. So the Darj Knight clarifies and says, rugby, small town, absolutely Liberty. West Ham United equals Iron's biggest soccer team in London. So I
thought that was Chelsea.
That's what the Darj Knight has to say.
What about Chelsea, man?
I don't know. Dovakin says the Cinemax board was solely killing Bethesda. They definitely returning back to glory. We definitely hope so. Tony Art says, maybe Starfield is 11/11/21 release. 10 years after Skyrim release, I could see that happen to celebrate one of their biggest new games with a new IP. Tharsman says, Square Enix Forspoken is a PS5 exclusive, but imagine if MS managed to get it on Game Pass PC day one. Yeah, Forspoken is that Project Athia game that they gave a title to. I don't like the title, but some of the traversal at the end looked pretty cool. Supposedly that's coming out.
People were calling it foreskin on Twitter.
Yeah, jeez. Alex Sawyer says, "What's good, guys? Hope all's well with the whole CDPR and Cyberpunk fiasco. Do you think Microsoft would buy them to give them additional resources?" I don't think so. No. Do you?
Buying CD Projekt Red? I don't think so.
Too expensive. They take a long time to make games. I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't think it's into that.
Microsoft wants they want rapid cadence, and Bethesda gives them that rapid cadence because there's so many damn studios. But CD Projekt Red doesn't really give them that rapid cadence, and also a publicly traded company. I also think they're kind of bound up in the Polish government in some ways.
Yeah, like they got a lot of like grants and loans and stuff.
Yeah, like it's similar to what happened with Kingdoms of Amalur, where the government helped fund the game, hoping to get a return on their investment. So yeah, there's that whole entanglement involved in it too. So
yeah, Zener White says, your thoughts on the Warhammer 40k Necromunda hired gun exclusive game? Is that game exclusive?
Yeah, that looks really cool. I don't know if it's exclusive, but it looks really cool. We're getting like 3 Warhammer games this year.
Yeah, I wonder when that Warhammer Dark Tide game's coming out. Looks pretty cool.
Which one was that?
That's like the 4-player Warhammer game that looks like Left 4 Dead, sort of. They showed it off at the summer showcase, and then they also showed the gameplay trailer at the Game Awards this past December. Nightwolf says, hey Rand, hey Jez, hope you guys are doing well. Not sure if you talked about it or got asked this, but what'd you think of the Dying Light 2 update? Did you watch the Dying Light 2 update, Jez?
I didn't, because I missed it first, and then loads of people said it was lame, so I didn't even bother watching it.
So I watched some of it. They basically were like, here's some tweets and comments from people wishing us death because the game was delayed, and then they basically said they revealed it too early, and they're working on it really hard. And 2021, it was basically a whole load of nothing. So
that's weird.
It was pretty weird. It was basically like, here's an announcement to expect another announcement at some time. I mean, maybe the game comes out this year. I'm not sure. Faisal says, Jez, any advice on how to start gaming writing?
Ooh, that is a long question. Send me a DM on Twitter. I'll give you some advice, mate. Can't do it here. That is a complicated question. Send me a DM on Twitter or drop me an email.
Yeah, email Jez. He'll tell you all how you can be as insidery as him.
Maybe not that.
Yeah. Punkadish says 1.5 thousand watching. Smack that like button. Indeed, we have a whole bunch of people here. Over 1.5 thousand. So if you're enjoying the show, hit the like button. Subscribe if it's your first time. We appreciate everybody who's tuning in. Michael says, hey Jez, do you have any other hints you can give us regarding future Xbox projects? Here we go. I feel it. This is the clickbait article one where all these websites are going to listen to this part. Now that we have this chat, the super chat asking Jez about future Xbox projects, just drop it on him, Jez. Tell him what's going on. Just let's get more articles written about the Xbox 2. You know what I mean?
Let's save that for another day. I don't have anything new after what I said last time, but Microsoft's always looking at stuff.
It was pretty big what you said last time. I don't think people realize that.
Yeah, maybe.
You're being a little cheeky there, but yeah. Sorry, I guess we'll have to wait for Jess to get drunk or something, or another show for future Xbox projects, I guess. RDX Son of Fett says, Fusion Frenzy should come back. Chinak Guy says, would Microsoft be interested in Devolver Digital? I don't think so, because they don't own anything. What's the point of buying Devolver Digital? You don't get any studios and you don't get any IP, right? So what's the point?
They just own publishing rights?
I think so. I don't think they own. I mean, I could be wrong. Anybody in chat knows, but I don't think Devolver owns any studios, and I don't think they own any of the IPs that they publish. Now, the games that they do publish are all high quality. Maybe wouldn't you just hire the people who run Devolver and get them to work on ID at Xbox? Wouldn't that just solve all that, essentially, right? I don't know.
Yeah, true. And also, Devolver has a killer social media team.
They do.
That much.
They sure do. Michael says, you guys think Remedy would be in the same category alongside CD Projekt Red as far as chances of an MS acquisition? I don't think so. I don't think Microsoft is interested in working with Remedy in that capacity after Alan Wake and Quantum Break. If Microsoft wanted to purchase them, they would have already. And now that they're going multi-platform, I just think Microsoft has flashbacks to how much Quantum Break cost and how little it probably sold. And they probably look at it like, we didn't get a lot for a return on investment. Remedy, you know what I mean? It just didn't work out. So
I think Microsoft has they see failed projects almost in a sort of, if it's seen in a bad light, you just kind of have to spend even more money to build on that negative connotation. It makes the marketing even harder. I used to be of this opinion where I I kind of was thinking about games like Mass Effect, for example. Mass Effect 1 was a janky, horrible to play. Frankly, it was horrible to play. The gunplay was terrible. All the abilities were terrible. It really wasn't great, combat wise. But it made you feel a certain way, and the characters were interesting and diverse and dynamic, and you could tell that there was something there that you could build on. So, like, because that bit was so great, people largely forgave the combat and stuff. So it earned itself a sequel, and also it sold well, which also earned itself a sequel. So I was kind of like, back then, I was kind of like, man, they could take games like Quantum Break and Recall that maybe were a bit rough and then build on it and make it into something that's good. But I think like that's sort of the era where you can get away with doing that's kind of different now, because there's so much competition for people's time that if you're building a sequel to a game nobody bought and nobody liked, except for like some hardcore people or some people who like, are willing to accept the game's shortcomings and stuff, then you sort of starting on a back foot, right? You don't want to start on a back foot when you're making a game. So I think games like Quantum Break and Recore and stuff probably won't get sequels just because they'd be starting the project from a position of weakness. But, who knows? Never say never, I guess.
RDX Son of Fett says, can't wait to play Horizon Zero Dawn on my Xbox when the new browser releases. EA Game Pass tutorial said iOS and browser early this year. Michael says, I'll buy Jez around. I guess he wants you to get you drunk. And Blast the Bass says, with 24 million Forza Horizon 4 players and 20 million Sea of Thieves players, has Xbox had games people want this whole time? Interesting. I mean,
it's almost as if most games people play are actually third party.
Well, I say 20 million for Sea of Thieves is quite a success, after considering how that game launched. And I think...
I thought you meant the platform. I didn't hear that bit. There's something wrong with my headset. It keeps cutting out. Maybe the battery's low.
I mean, he basically said with 24 million Forza Horizon players and 20 million Sea of Thieves players, it's like Xbox has games people want to play the whole time,
Yeah. I mean, Sea of Thieves growth is, like, really impressive. They've really driven that game. Like, Sea of Thieves is a pretty good example of something that launched in maybe not the most favorable state, but they had a plan, and they built on it and made it into something really special. Kind of like what they did with Mass Effect.
Yeah.
But, it's rare that games can do that now.
Yeah, I mean, you could say, like, Forza Horizon 4 and Sea of Thieves are the two biggest success stories of Xbox this gen, along, like, with Game Pass, basically blowing those games up. Matthew Santos says Devolver is better than Xbox Game Pass, Xbox Global Publishing. Interesting. So, Jez, we did get an acquisition this week. I figured we'd have to talk about this. Sony bought Evo.
Yes, they did. Evo, the game tournament,
the game tournament, the fighting game tournament.
Yeah, it's very. I thought that was very confusing personally.
It's a very weird purchase.
Like, why wouldn't you just make your own game tournament? But
I would imagine the price was low because they had to cancel last year, and there was the whole sexual allegations against one of the co-founders.
Yeah.
So maybe they were able to get it on cheap. You know what my first thought was? And this isn't like any sort of like inside info or anything like that. This is just like, I saw Sony buy the fighting game, buy Evo. My first thought was, oh, they're gonna buy exclusivity for Street Fighter 6 again. Because they bought exclusivity for Street Fighter 5, right? Because Sony doesn't have any first party, like they don't have any first party fighting games, right? And it sounds like Nintendo's going to pull... Well, either is Microsoft. It sounds like Nintendo's going to pull Smash from Evo, right? So my first thought was like, okay, if you buy the fighting, you buy Evo, like, does this insinuate that potentially Sony's trying to get Street Fighter 6 exclusivity? So they can showcase it at Evo. I don't know. Like, I don't know what Capcom's going to do with that game.
You know,
that's like almost a stretch. It's just why do you need a whole event to buy exclusivity for a fighting game? It's so weird. I mean, if they do, then I suppose that increases the impetus on Microsoft to actually make a new Killer Instinct. Which is great. I personally prefer Killer Instinct to Street Fighter just because it's the one I've historically played more of. But and also you got a lot of new characters you could put in there. Can you imagine Doom Guy in Killer Instinct? That'd be pretty damn sweet. But at the same time, I still don't get it. Like, even if you have a fighting tournament, like, you don't need it for exclusivity on a fight. They must have paid very little for that, is all I can think. It must have been a minuscule amount of money and almost like trivial. And also they weren't the sole buyer. They bought it in partnership with a new esports organization called RTS, which is, I'm gonna have hilariously bad SEO. It's the dumbest name I've ever seen in my life for a new company, naming themselves after a very popular term that you can't Google without finding loads of other stuff. But it is what it is. So I just thought that whole thing was kind of bizarre, but I doubt they paid very much. And I guess we'll just have to watch and see what they do with it, because I have no idea right now.
I almost kind of like your thing where you said, let's imagine a scenario where Sony buys Street Fighter 6 exclusivity. At least last generation, Microsoft had Killer Instinct to combat it, right? Street Fighter is still a bigger franchise, but Microsoft at least had their own fighting franchise. This time around, if Sony were able to do that, I would hope, or at least what you said about how Microsoft would then be kind of like, people would be coming to Phil and everybody at Xbox being like, yo, where's our fighting game? Like, Street Fighter's gone again. It's going to be a few years before they ever do another Mortal Kombat. It's like, it's time to bring back Killer Instinct. And that maybe, would light a fire under their asses to get Killer Instinct 2 made. Now, what about the other... This is also another PlayStation thing, but I think it's important. Jade Raymond's new studio was announced, Haven, and Sony's backing it. They're going to have a partnership where the game's going to be a new IP for PlayStation. What'd you think about that announcement?
Well, first of all, I think it's awesome because, Google sucks, and the way they treated those devs was pure garbage. But what can you say? It's Google. It's what Google does. They treat their employees like garbage. It's a well-documented thing. Google's an awful company, and sorry, Rand, I'm probably going to get your video demonetized. But ultimately, she's now in partnership with a studio that does care about gaming, Sony. And it's a good thing for the industry that those people found a partner that will actually back their vision to the end and see it through to the end, rather than Google, who's just playing around for fun with more money than it knows what to do with. Google's just an awful company, and everything it does is terrible, and Google should be banned. Okay,
jeez. Please, anybody from Google listening to the podcast, that's not the opinions of Randall Thor 19, who has this YouTube channel and is the owner of it. That's just Jez Corden. It kind of reminds me of the whole Kojima thing. Although Kojima is obviously like an iconic developer, right? As soon as he went free agent, Sony was like, back up a Binks truck. We don't own Kojima Productions, but their first game is ours. We own the IP, and it ended up being Death Stranding. Now, as we've talked about before, I don't think Sony really... I think they didn't like how Death Stranding ended up, and I'm not sure that their next game is going to be with PlayStation. There was rumors and a report from VGC that it was Stadia was going to publish their next game. And obviously Stadia went away. So, and then of course there's the Phil Shelf-spiracies with the Kojima Ludens doll right next to the Xbox logo. So that brings up the question if Kojima's next game's with Xbox. But I think PlayStation sees Jade Raymond as a similar creator to Kojima, someone who's like very high profile. So like, okay, we'll back the studio. They're making a new IP for us. We'll see what happens, and if it turns out to be pretty good, maybe we'll purchase the studio. I think Sony's been a little bit cautious here because Jade Raymond hasn't shipped a game in 7 years. She hasn't shipped a game since Watch Dogs in 2014. She went to EA, and that Star Wars game got canceled. Then she went to Google to build first party, and that was
they pulled the plug on that before a game can come out. So there's some people in the industry that might be thinking if Jade Raymond is just things that happen to Jade Raymond, or is Jade Raymond a reason why these things happen, right? So maybe Sony's just playing a little bit. Okay, we'll fund your studio, or at least we'll fund the game. You can build the studio. Let's see if you can actually put something out in a 3 to 5 year timetable, and if it's good, and if it is, maybe we continue the partnership. And if nothing happens, and if the studio crumbles, then PlayStation really doesn't lose that much, right?
Yeah. It makes sense, I guess, given the unfortunate circumstances around what was it called? Star Wars 1313 or something?
I'm not sure. Was it 1313? I'm not sure if it was that one. Maybe it was a different Star Wars game. There was a lot of Star Wars games that were canceled at EA in that time frame.
Yeah, there was.
So
man, EA just kind of sucks, doesn't it? But anyway, yeah, it's cool to see. I'm interested to see what the partnership yields.
Yeah.
I guess.
So Aquaman's got a question for you, Jez. He says, coming from the Astro A50s, how are the new Xbox Series wireless headsets in terms of quality and features? Any chance Microsoft buys out Square Enix? So I'll answer the second one. Probably no chance. But you have a review out for the new Xbox wireless headset. Mine should be coming today. Tell everybody listening, which, we have a whole bunch of people still here listening after 2 hours, what you think of the new Xbox wireless headsets.
Yeah, so I was lucky enough to get a review unit of the Xbox wireless headset. I used it, for several days last week across a range of games, watched a movie and TV shows with them, and listen to music, stuff like that. I review a lot of headsets. I think probably at this point I might have reviewed more headsets than actual games. We're a tech site at the end of the day, so that's a little bit more my area, I guess. So I have sort of a range of headsets that I compare this to. Cross Turtle, gaming headsets anyway. Cross Turtle Beach and, Astro and Steel Series and stuff like that. Compared to the Astro A50s, you're not going to get a better sound out of the Xbox wireless headset. That's the biggest disappointment with the Xbox wireless headset for me, was the audio profile I felt was imbalanced. I felt like the bass was way too heavy and overpowering. Even with it turned down, it was still really overbearing. And I'm someone who, typically likes a good bassy headset, but I just felt like it was unbalanced. But audio is also really subjective, so if you like it, that's totally fine. If you like big beefy bass. But I had the bass boost on 0, and there's 4 levels of it. Level 4 will literally explode my head. So it's interesting how different people perceive audio, because there's so many factors, the shape of your head, for God's sake, can make sound reverberate differently and stuff like that. But I just felt the audio profile was a bit imbalanced. However, this is also a $99 headset, and there are literally no, as far as I'm aware, I think there are no $99 headsets on the market that do Bluetooth and Xbox wireless as a combination. I think the cheapest one up to this point was about $130 in a sale, and then $150 regularly. So the Turtle Beach Stealth 700 Gen 2 is the cheapest competitor, I think, that also does Bluetooth. My brain's telling me the Steel Series 1 is cheap and does Bluetooth, but I don't know if it does off the top of my head. But anyway, the audio profile is not great, but at $99, there isn't another headset out there that will shift to your phone, to your PC, to your Xbox seamlessly, thanks to the double signal stuff. And on the plus side, I felt like it handles Bluetooth signal better than other headsets out there. Bluetooth is a terrible standard. I hate Bluetooth so much with a passion. I think everyone who uses Bluetooth kind of hates it and just does so out of necessity. Why haven't we come up with a better solution than Bluetooth, man? I don't know. Bluetooth's awful, but it's the best we got right now, so it is what it is. But at $99, I don't think you'll be disappointed, but there are better headsets out there that sound a lot better. For me, the best sounding headset that's also pretty cheap right now is the Corsair HS75XB. That's the headset that I generally recommend for great audio quality at a relatively affordable price. But you don't get Bluetooth with that. So it's ultimately pros and cons about what you want. Got a load of articles about headsets, best headsets for Xbox on Windows Central, so go and check those out and share them around as well. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I sort of the value's great. The auto mute feature's great. The the software's really good. The design and comfort's really great. But the sound quality's not the best. The microphone's not the best. And there is a lot of value there though at $99. So that's basically my feelings on it. Don't expect the world, but it's not bad either.
Yeah, I mean, I have Astray 50s. I wanted to buy the headset because I can use them on the PC. So if I don't like them, I'll just use my A50s. But then there's sometimes people want to play on Xbox but use Discord. And my PC and my Xbox are like really far apart. But this headset kind of bridges that gap where it's like I could connect to my phone and be in Discord while playing and have the headset on.
You can do that with your A50s, you know.
Well, wouldn't you have to plug it into the PC?
Yeah, you would.
But I said like my Xbox and my OLED are across the room from my PC at the moment. So
a big ass cable, man.
I don't want to have a big ass cable running around there. So maybe when I remodel everything, I'll put the PC closer to the Xbox. So yeah,
spend some of them millions and remodel it.
Yeah, I'll talk about my experience with the headset next week. Mike says, still think Remedy would be a perfect fit. Seeing how Microsoft has changed their priorities is how they measure success. With Game Pass, I would assume that they'd be willing to take a risk with them again. I mean, potentially, after Remedy did Quantum Break and moved on, Game Pass wasn't a thing. So, I mean, you might be right, but who knows if Remedy wants to be bought out. I mean, they are a public company after all, so we'll see. Axel1324 Gaming says, Rand say, it's not always about the uwu. Sometimes it's about the ara. What? I don't know. What does that mean? I don't get it.
You don't know.
The Glitch Doctor says, wouldn't be Embrace Group a good pick for Microsoft? They run themselves and have many mid-tier games to fill out dry Game Pass months. I mean, Embracer Group owns 50 studios. I don't think Microsoft is looking for that many, to be honest. It's a lot of work to run those studios. It's a reason why Nintendo has 12 or 13 or whatever it is, 10, and PlayStation has 13. And it's just a lot of work for to run these studios and get everything in the pipeline and everything, which is one of the reasons why Bethesda is being kept separate from Xbox Game Studios, so Matt doesn't have to worry about what Bethesda's doing. So yeah, so there is that. I did see Miles, Miles Dampierre, right? Is that how you say his last name? He just posted the Xbox Series X mini fridge with the ZOA energy drink as well. I saw Paris in chat earlier. Shout out to Paris, Xcast, and Gamertag Radio. He also was super fortunate enough to get one early. And even got retweeted by The Rock, which I'm extremely jealous of. Like, I love The Rock.
Oh, that's sick.
And my life would peak at that point if I ever got retweeted by The Rock. But he also, they sent out the mini fridges with The Rock's energy drink and like a cool new controller, and they, as sort of like a cross promotional thing, looks super cool. And then there's even hints that maybe Xbox might sell a mini fridge at some point in the future. It looks like Aaron Greenberg was kind of teasing that a little bit.
Yeah, that'd be sweet. Although the Xbox Gear Shop, like the company they use to sell their stuff from their gear shop, is terrible. I ordered something from them back in November, and it was like January, February, and I was like, and I remembered that I'd ordered something, and it just hadn't even been shipped after like 3 months. And I know like COVID's a thing or whatever, but damn, that is some slow delivery time. So I cancelled that stuff. Maybe it's because it was shipping out from America or something. I don't know, but don't say you'll ship to the UK if you're not gonna do it, mate.
Yeah. Would you get a Series X fridge if they sell one? Let me know. Everybody's still watching. We have 1,450 people. So, geez, the podcast is like 2 hours and going on 2 hours and 20 minutes, and there's still basically 1,500 people here watching. Hit the like button if you're still here enjoying the show. Subscribe if you're new. Would you buy an Xbox Series X mini fridge? Let me know in the comments. How much would you pay for it? I guess that's the bigger question. How much is a mini fridge? Is it $100? $150? Would you buy one? Let's see some yeses coming in right now that they totally would. Someone says no. I guess it really depends on the price. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I don't really need a mini fridge, but I guess it really depends on the price. Dude, I'm so jealous of Miles, man. Miles got that package. He's moving up in the world, man. You know? Get the little rock glasses as well. That looks super cool. Jez, this question is for you. Age of Empires is having a fan event sort of thing, fan preview on April 10th. What can people expect from this? So you have Age of Empires. They said there would be news about Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition and Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition, and obviously like gameplay reveals for Age of Empires 4. Are we going to get a release date for Age of Empires 4 at this April 10th show?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say yes. I think we'll get a release date for Age of Empires 4 at the show. I have no idea. That's just a guess. But I think, like, given the timeline between when it was announced to now, I do believe we'll get an announced date for Age of Empires 4.
Do you think it's coming out this year?
Maybe. Maybe.
So,
maybe not.
Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition news, could they be bringing Age of Empires 2 and 3 to Xbox by chance?
Man, I want to say yes, but I ultimately don't know. There's almost like a philosophical challenge here. Does Microsoft dumb down the gameplay for a controller, or do they force people to use mouse and keyboard? Because I think there's a lot of people who are going to pick that up and be like, oh, I've got to use mouse and keyboard. I don't have one. Maybe Microsoft can work around that and put a big, massive warning on it saying you need a mouse and keyboard to play this. But if you put mouse and keyboard on your console and then you don't support it, what the hell was the point? So if we're in this age of discovery, of testing the waters with new things and, you know, experimenting with Game Pass and stuff like that, I say do it. Put Age of Empires on Xbox and force mouse and keyboard as the required peripheral, because that's how you grow the segment of games that require mouse and keyboard. There are just genres of games that you need a mouse and keyboard for. You know, you could argue that MOBAs are those too, like Heroes of the Storm, League of Legends, stuff like that. If you can prove that there is a user base on Xbox who will use mouse and keyboard through your own franchises, like Halo and Age of Empires, then you can start making the case to Riot and Blizzard to bring their MOBAs, and maybe Valve to bring Dota 2 to Xbox and as a keyboard and mouse required game. And also you grow the market for like keyboard and mouse peripherals that are good for the sofa, like lap boards they call them. I think they should do it. I think they should, take a risk and do it. But I'm also the guy who said they should put Microsoft Office on Xbox. So,
yeah, Michael says bringing AoE Definitive Edition to Xbox would be so great. A lot of people would like it. I don't expect Age of Empires 4 to be on Xbox at launch if it comes out this year. That maybe it comes to Xbox later. But moving on from that, this is going to be an interesting one. Square Enix held an event, Jez. They announced a new the title just escaped me. I literally blanking here. The new
Foreskin.
Life is Strange. There we go. Life is Strange. I literally I could picture the cover in my head, but I blanked on the name for a minute. The new Life is Strange True Colors coming out September 10th, 2021. They're also remastering Life is Strange 1 and Life is Strange Before the Storm. They showed some Outriders off. They had some mobile games. They, for whatever reason, announced a compilation bundle of the Tomb Raider games, which is weird because does that even really matter? And new Avengers stuff, right? They announced the next gen version is out with Hawkeye, and that Black Panther is coming soon. Still no word on Spider-Man. However, one of the big takeaways was about the save file and how cumbersome it was to transfer your save from PS4 version of Avengers to the PlayStation 5 version, and how this kind of proves that smart delivery wasn't just PR speak that a lot of people said. That smart delivery was something that was, took years of planning and implementation to make it as seamless and hassle-free for Xbox. Because, on Xbox, I always thought it was weird because I never had to worry about saves. Like, when I moved from my 1S to my 1X or anything like that,
or my One X to my Series X, because like Microsoft offers cloud saves to everybody free of charge and an unlimited amount. So all you have to do is when you move your games or when you move systems, you just pull the cloud save from Microsoft's Azure server and you just start playing. But on PlayStation it was a little bit different. Like you can only have cloud saves if you subscribe to PlayStation Plus, which like party chat's free on PlayStation and it's locked behind gold on Xbox. Cloud saves are free on Xbox. They're locked behind PlayStation Plus on for PlayStation. So it's like they both do things that are good, but then they also both do things that are bad when they lock stuff. Like locking cloud saves behind PS Plus is pretty bad, especially when people need to transfer their saves to a new system to be able to So if you wanted to move your PS4 saves to PS5 for your God of Wars and stuff like that, you had to you had to either upload them to the cloud, and if you didn't upload them to the cloud, you got to stick a USB stick in there and then transfer them. However, like for me, I didn't upload any of the saves to the PS Plus because I didn't have PS Plus at that point, and I totally forgot about that. I wouldn't be able to get them, so I've got a war and all these titles on PS5, but if I actually wanted to start a new playthrough, I don't have my old saves. Like I got rid of my PS4 Pro, and I totally forgot about like uploading them and putting them on a USB stick. So like I lost all those saves, and it's something you don't think about on Xbox because it's just so natural. It's so hassle free. It's like I play a game. I play Gears 5 on my One X. I play Gears 5 on my Series X. It just literally is there. And I think people don't appreciate that and the work, the teams put into it. But it kind of
I definitely take that for granted. I definitely took that for granted. Like I saw it was the chap from Forbes, Paul
Tassi.
Paul Tassi, right? So he was tweeting about the frustration of having to do the cloud saves and stuff. But I've been in the Microsoft ecosystem for so long now, from like Windows Phone and Windows 8 and stuff like that. A lot of this philosophy was all the way from back then. So like on my Windows, because I used to buy new Windows phones all the time. I had like 1 million Windows phones. It was so easy and simple to just move my entire phone to a new device. And it's I know that's the standard feature now, and stuff like that on phones. But it was new to me at the time. But from that, and then Windows 8 did that too, and then Windows 10 did it as well. Like whenever I get a new laptop, it's just so easy. Connect up to OneDrive, bring all my files and data. It's all cloud-based, and that's sort of the promise of Azure and the Microsoft ecosystem, right? So I just started really taking that for granted, and I encountered this issue when I wanted to play PlayStation Now, because I had a free trial for PlayStation Now, I think. And I can't remember what game I was playing. I was playing God of War, and it came up with a big warning saying you won't be able to save this game and play it on PlayStation unless you get PlayStation Plus. I was like, oh well, I'm not getting PlayStation Plus because I'm not going to use it for anything. So I suppose my God of War save vanished along with that. It's just weird to hold that behind a paywall.
Well, it's even so. A lot of people talked about smart delivery, and Microsoft really did puff their chests out about that at the lead up to this gen, being like, doesn't matter where you are, what console it is, basically it'll get the right version and your saves will go with you, and everybody's like, yeah, like that's not a big deal, like it's just PR speak. But then situations like Marvel Avengers arise where it's like, yeah, like you need to upload your save from the PS4 version. So if you don't have that copy of the game anymore, well, you can't upload your save. Or if you didn't upload your save, like in reading that whole like tweet from Marvel Avengers was just like, wow, these are a lot of steps just to transfer your save. But then you don't think about it on Xbox; it just works. Like it literally just works.
It's a testament to the cloud mindedness of Microsoft, and it's the reason why they've become such a massive company with the market cap and stuff, is because they were forward thinking about a lot of this cloud stuff that a lot of companies just slept on. Yeah. So making the cloud work in a consumer context is a complicated sort of process, and kudos to Microsoft for being ahead of the curve on a lot of that stuff.
Yeah. So it just works on Xbox. It's super easy, and it's a little bit more convoluted on the PlayStation. Um, so I figured this might be the last topic before we get into user questions. VR coming to Xbox, Jez, because there was a message when people tried to use their headsets that talked about VR headset and stuff. Microsoft came out and denied it and said they're not supporting it for consoles at this time. So I guess the question is, do you see Xbox Series X supporting VR headsets in the future?
Man, I actually believe, like, I know, like, there'll be conspiracy theories and stuff, like, why would they say VR and stuff like that? But I actually believe fully that this was a localization thing. I tried to plug the headset into my console and, I didn't get the same message. I do believe this was like a translation error. Someone who's translating it probably thought they, meant VR or something like that. I don't know. But there are strings in the Xbox ecosystem, which operating system, which do refer to VR. I've seen those before. But, it's just because of the holdover from UWP and shared APIs and stuff like that. I think Microsoft doesn't believe in VR as a viable market right now. And certainly the attach rate on PlayStation VR would suggest that. I think it's like the attach rate's less than 5%. I think Kinect had a better attach rate, which is not a good metric you want to be compared to. That said, there is something kind of cool about VR. I've tried Oculus Quest 2. My stepdad has one. It's kind of fun to use, but it's also fatiguing and kind of limiting in what games work well on it. In a way that's accessible, I'll say. Like people always say, like you get used to the motion sickness or whatever, but the average consumer is not going to want to take the effort to get used to the motion sickness. So I I'm of the mind that I don't think we'll get VR in the near future for Xbox, and I think it's just a case of just a simple factor that it hasn't taken the world by storm. Like the Quest 2 is probably the best accessible way to get VR right now. And even though there's like this big semiconductor shortage, and even though we had Christmas, Oculus Quest didn't sell out over Christmas at all. It was in stock the whole time. I was checking the stock to see if it'd sell out, and it just never did. And maybe you can argue that maybe Facebook over manufactured it, but Facebook always says to their shareholders, "Well, VR is progressing how we expected." Did they expect Oculus Quest 2 to sit on stores' shelves not selling? I don't know, but I'm just sort of skeptical still about the VR thing.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you. I don't think VR is going to come to Xbox. So, why don't we get to these last super chats, and then we'll get to user questions. Anybody still listening to the show? I mean, we're almost like 2 hours and 45 minutes, but it's been an excellent show. Michael says, "Hey Jez, bring up Mass Effect got me thinking how Microsoft missed an opportunity to acquire BioWare back then. They probably could have saved them." Yeah, I was pissed when EA bought BioWare. I felt like Xbox really missed an opportunity to have them, and maybe it would have changed their fortunes. Hunter Smith says, "Corsair is a really great brand. A lot of my PC components use their stuff. Xbox should partner with them for accessories and Game Pass promos." Dan Lazario says, "Jez hasn't said I don't know as much the last few podcasts. Good job, Jez. Buy Paradox Interactive for Game Pass." I did notice that. Yeah, you haven't been using I don't know enough. Are you self-conscious of your vocal fillers when you talk? So you don't.
I'm trying to inject a bit of variety into proceedings, but also I've been less tired podcasting recently because my sleep cycle's so screwed up that I've been waking up in the afternoon. So when I've been podcasting, I've been less tired, which probably means less vocal fillers. There
you go. Michael says, "Bringing AOE Definitive Edition Xbox would be great." Dovakin says Sony got too comfy with the PS5, and Widya Santozo says, "Jez, a while back there was an article in Windows Central about Xbox's lack of localization for foreign markets. Do you think it's improved, and if so, how?"
Well, we have got the new feature which lets developers more starkly exemplify what languages are supported by their games. So in the details page on the Xbox Store now, if you scroll down a bit, it will say all the languages that are supported, and your console language will be displayed at the top, so you can know immediately at a glance if if it supports your language and your and all that sort of stuff, and also whether it works in the UI, whether the dialogue's localized, basically everything. It gives you the opportunity to sort of see at a glance how much the game is localized for your language or whatever. But I still think there's a ton of work they need to do. They've basically been saying to foreign markets for a long time, we don't care about you, frankly. Like when we think about Japan and all those kind of regions, for the longest time Microsoft's been saying we don't care about you, with how little they support those regions. In some cases, there are like legal issues which stop it from happening. I know, like I often see people in the Iranian community asking Xbox why they have to use a DNS to tunnel to Xbox Live, and the reason for that is U.S. government has put an embargo on trading with Iran. So that's a whole political problem that needs to be solved. And people say, well, Steam works in Iran, but the thing is, it's different because Microsoft's a massive tech company that has military contracts with the US military. So it becomes really complicated for them dealing with some of that stuff. So there are things that Microsoft can't solve with just by throwing money at it. But things like the language settings and stuff, that's a great step in the right direction. And I think they do realize that if they do want to be this global company that they always talk about, they need to improve across the board when it comes to that stuff. And I think they will. It's just going to take time.
Very true. Humdrug says, why does Phil hate brute force? I don't know. I don't think he cares for it very much.
Wow, are you throwing Phil under the bus?
I mean, not really. I mean, I don't think he's a fan of brute force. I mean, I'm pretty sure he said that in interviews too. So, Stodgy Caesar says, how long do you give Haven before they release their first game? I guess it depends on the scale of the project. If it's a small indie title, maybe 2 years. If it's a bigger AAA release, 3 to 4 years. It really depends on the scale. RDX Son of Fett says PlayStation is less popular than Xbox Connect and PSVR. Michael says, I noticed an issue with cloud saves transferring my Xbox One. Games like Oblivion didn't carry over my files that include DLC. I think that has to do with the 360 stuff. I have none of my saves from the 360. So
you have to. If you've got saves on the 360, there is an extra step involved. You have to move those saves to the cloud allocation on your memory. I might write an article about that because it is one complication. But Microsoft didn't have cloud saves to the Xbox 360 at launch. They came later in an update. So there is like a split system on that console. So if you do have like saves on the hard drive of the 360, they're not uploaded to the cloud by default. So there is some stuff you have to do there.
I have none of my saves from the 360, not any of them. Like, I lost them all because I didn't upload any to the cloud. Maybe that's one of the reasons why I never backed to the 360 back and pat. Jericho Jackson with the smiley, and he also says, is the Fable franchise underrated?
I'm honestly not a big fan of Fable.
I like Fable a lot.
Fable. So I play. I mean, I'm supposed to be a fan of it because it's a British game or whatever. But even when I was a kid, I thought like the humor was lame. I was just like, I want some edge in my gaming a lot of the time. I don't like many comedy games, I guess. That's just a me thing, but I wouldn't say it's underrated personally. I think it's rated exactly roughly how it deserves to be.
I mean,
maybe that's
I think it was rated pretty well. Like, I think people thought highly of it with Fable 2 and Fable 1. Maybe not so much Fable 3, and then the franchise has gone away. So let's see what Playground Games can do with it. Maybe they bring the franchise back and it's better than ever. RDX Son of Fett says Review Tech USA is a cam girl, a grown man taking money off to take a shirt. He needs to get help.
Who?
Review Tech USA. Rich from Review Tech USA. I don't know if you know who he is. He makes a bunch of videos.
I like Rich.
He streams a lot, and I guess like there's a point where if enough people donate, he'll take off his shirt or something. So
Rich is funny, man. He cracks me up.
Rich can be pretty funny sometimes. Yeah. Let's see here. Let's see. Raiden Blade says, Jez and Rand, do you believe Forspoken will come to Xbox in 2 years, as PlayStation fans are saying it's exclusive and not time? You don't have to answer. Well, we'll answer that. I think in the trailer it says that it's 2 years exclusive, can't come to other consoles. It'll be on PC. So if you judge it on that, 2 years, it's a long time. It might as well just be a full exclusive at that point. But sometimes you don't know, because Final Fantasy VII Remake was supposed to be a 1 year exclusive. And we're supposed to hear about it coming to Xbox this year, but we don't know yet. And we know that, Final Fantasy VII Remake's coming to PS5 in June. Is the announcements just going to happen a couple months from now, or did they extend the exclusivity? We don't know yet. And Forspoken could be the same thing, same way. So as of now, judging from Sony's own trailers, it's a 2 year timed exclusive. But when those 2 years are up, who knows if they decide to put it on Xbox? That's the problem with that. Let's see what else we got. Humdrug says Special Ed said Street Fighter 6 is multi-plat. His credibility will be even more shoddy. Well, I just said, like, my first thought when Evo was purchased by Sony was that, like, I wonder if they're considering buying exclusivity for Street Fighter 6. I don't know.
Did Ed really say it'd be multi-plat?
I think he said that like a year ago. Yeah.
I think there was some evidence that it was based on the big Capcom leak. There was like a big.
There's a big Capcom leak. Yeah.
Yeah, there was like a load of documents. Yeah, but anything can change between then and now. So, especially for Street Fighter, I wouldn't be so sure until you get hard confirmation on that.
Yeah, but that
Sony's seen what Microsoft's doing, and they want to spend the money to get in there too.
Microsoft is spending money like crazy for Game Pass, and I'm sure Sony's probably doing the exact same. So we'll have to wait and see. I wouldn't say that is a nick against Ed, because even the leak said it was going to be multi-plat. Just sometimes stuff changes.
Nick against Ed? Aren't they the same person?
Nick and Ed. Well, Ed, Special Ed, Nick, whatever. They're the same person.
Does he have like two alter ego personalities?
No, I don't think so. Kay wants to know if I'm a Wheel of Time fan. Yes, that's why I'm named Randall Thor 19. I love the Wheel of Time. Soil cleaner.
You explained to me what that was on one show, and I think I was so bored that I forgot already.
Shut up! You're so mean.
It's got dragons in it, right?
Yeah, it's got dragons in it. You'd love it. Salad Kleenex says, Jez, when am I getting Persona on Xbox?
Don't know.
Soon.
Don't know, mate.
Apparently. Soon. Red Cloud Gamer says, I feel like Microsoft should find a way to make Quest 2 work with Xbox, just to make sure they don't miss out on any games that are VR focused from the PSVR.
I think there's clearly a lot of interest in VR from the hardcore community, and also like the fact that Sony's pushing really hard on it. They announced the new controllers recently, which look pretty damn high tech. They look really interesting. And Sony's proven itself to be investing heavily in controller tech and peripherals and stuff like that. And PSVR is a cool platform. It's bringing VR to more people in a way that the HTC Vive certainly isn't at $1,000 or however much it costs. I can't believe how much it costs to get into VR unless you want to be in the Facebook's ecosystem. It's absurd. If you don't want to make a Facebook account for VR, you basically have to pay $1,000 for the HTC Vive, which is like
ridiculous.
Just something I don't want to do.
Yeah.
So yeah. But Sony's bringing that affordability, which is cool, and definitely needs to drive more interest in the platform. But I just don't think Microsoft sees any interest in it.
Yeah, Michael says the issue is still persistent even after uploading some of my 360 saves to the cloud. Have to call customer service, I suppose. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if you get an answer from them. Jigoro and Busku says, Rand and Jez, what's your gamer snack while gaming on Xbox? Or in Jez's case, World of Warcraft on Windows 10 and Pokemon. Rand is a secret Pokemon. Believe me, I'm not a secret Pokemon. Not at all. Jez, do you have a gamer snack you like to munch on while playing?
Well, actually, I've been hardcore dieting the last month or so. So my snack right now would probably be an apple.
So what was used to be your snack while gaming?
Snack while gaming. Well, in the UK, we have these sort of, I don't know what you call them, chips in America, called mini cheddars, which are kind of like, they're like little crackers that kind of taste like cheddar cheese. So I really like mini cheddars. And I also like Twiglets, which you also don't have in America, which are a Marmite-based sort of... I don't even know how to describe Twiglets. They literally just stick. They're called Twiglets because they look like little twigs off a tree, and they taste like Marmite, which you don't have in America, and it's a flavor I simply cannot describe. So, yeah, 2 things that you've never heard of, basically, are my snacks. What are your snacks, right?
I actually don't snack when I game.
Oh.
I never have. I don't know. I never actually snack when... I mean, I drink, I have like... Right now I'm drinking Gatorade Zero because they ran out of Propel at Amazon, so I'll drink while I game, but no, I don't actually snack. I never have. I don't know.
What about Mountain Dew?
I don't drink pop anymore.
What about Doritos?
I don't, like I'm saying, I don't eat while I game. If I do snack,
Rand,
it's when I watch.
Real Xbox fan if you don't eat.
I know if I don't eat Mountain Dew and Doritos, I know. I'm sorry. So I don't. Yeah, I don't eat I don't eat while I game. I do snack when I watch like Netflix or movies and stuff, but yeah, I don't really do that when I game. Drug wants to know what previous first party games do you think we'll see at E3? I think the ones that are set for 2022, I'll think we'll see again. So Everwild, Forza Motorsport, Hellblade, Wolfenstein. Oh, don't be so sure about Everwild now. Oh boy, 2023. Okay.
I just think it might be too early.
Too early. They debuted it XO 2019. What do you mean too early?
Don't know. I just got a feeling it might be too early for that one.
All right. Well, apparently it's too early.
State of Decay though, maybe.
No, State of Decay is too early. I think they'll show whatever.
I love the too early.
I think they're just going to focus on games that are coming out in 2022. Maybe some newer announcements, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I don't know. So let's see. Anything else here? I think I got all the questions for the show. I know people probably don't want us to leave, but it is getting a little bit later. So what do you think, Jez? Time to end the show? We answered some questions.
Sure.
It was a really long show, so. Yeah, if you guys enjoyed the show, make sure you hit the like button. Subscribe if it's your first time here. Hit the notification bell. Follow me and Jez on Twitter. All that good stuff. We appreciate everybody who tuned in to the podcast. We had over 1,500 people. Make sure you hit the like button. Jez, you got anything to say before we get out of here?
Nah, man. Just I do want to give Miles a shout out on the Windows Central Gaming YouTube channel. If you guys like my content, I'd really appreciate the support on Windows Central Gaming's YouTube channel too. Miles does a great job trying to grow that channel. We're trying to grow it from scratch. It's really hard to grow a YouTube channel, and a lot of you support us already, and I really appreciate that. But if anyone else wants to support, I'd really appreciate it. He did a video about the Xbox wireless headset recently, which is super good, and you should check it out. Other than that, yeah, thanks again.
Yeah, we got one last super chat that came in towards the end. Square is testing how profitable Game Pass will be for them, and if it's good for Outriders, they'll throw Final Fantasy VII in there potentially, or Sony could just buy another year of exclusivity. You never know how those deals go. So,
yeah.
And Ascent wants to know what's my biggest game I'm looking forward to. Halo Infinite. Like nothing else this year. Like Halo Infinite. Well, maybe God of War if God of War came out this year, but even still, Halo would be above God of War for me. So.
Rand, there is a bit of news that we didn't cover.
Whoa, what? Okay, what is it?
Microsoft has got a new hire.
Who?
Let's have a quick look. Man, this podcast's just never ending, I think.
It really is, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so blah 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 blah. Microsoft has a new hire. Microsoft's gaming business now has Marcus Weltenberg, who is now the director of Xbox Global Partnerships. He previously worked for 20th Century Fox and Netflix. And this is what he wrote on LinkedIn. After a fantastic 5-year journey with countless stunning colleagues at Netflix, I'm thrilled to share that I'm joining Team Xbox to lead the Global Partnerships Group. Cannot wait to learn more from the teams behind the iconic Xbox brand, products, services, and games. So many amazing games. I look forward to doing great things at such an exciting time of change, growth, and new opportunities in the world of gaming. So there you go. Another Netflix guy.
Wasn't Sarah Bond in charge of partnerships, or is this different? Like global partnerships versus like, you know what I mean? Or like Damon Baker, isn't he in charge of? Oh, he's in charge of like third-party portfolio or something. There's so many titles at Xbox that it's hard to really know.
I think what the point is that the operation's grown so big that they need so many people directing different parts of it.
That is true. So yeah,
and I think the fact that it's Netflix also as well is continuously interesting.
I mean, they talk about Game Pass as the Netflix of gaming, so I mean, it makes sense, for that type of stuff. But it's something interesting to end the show on. So thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you enjoy your weekend, and we'll be back next week. Hopefully, keep the Friday streak intact. And with that, we're out of here. So have a good one, guys, and